I have traced the skull and bones from the pirate flag, and now with pencil on paper, and then I put painter's tape on the back to solidify the typing paper, and I'm just using an X-Acto to cut the outline. I'm going to use these as a template to I'm going to project them onto the fabric, and then I can cut out the fabric shapes, and I can start ironing them and getting them ready to sew onto the flags. I have the flags downstairs in the they're in a they're in an old mortar bucket in the tub full of cold water with some vinegar and salt. I'm hoping to set the dye. I had to okay, look, first of all, we don't need this, right? We're not using display capture. So here, transform, there. Okay, so anyhow, I've got the flags. I dyed them last night, and they came out really good, darker and, you know, kind of nice, but they looked a little, they had a purple cast to them, so I didn't like that. So what's her name went out and got me some black dye and some brown dye. So I put a full bottle of the RIT black dye and then a quarter bottle or so of the brown dye to my thinking was that it'll warm it up and counterbalance the coldness of the blues in that dye. And so we re-dyed them today, and they're good. Took them out, they look really nice, and then I ironed it to, hopefully the heat maybe will help set the dye, and now I've got it in a bucket with vinegar and salt. I'm going to let that soak for an hour or two while I do all this other stuff. I've got other work to do on the flag, you know, the skulls and bones and stuff. So anyway, so that stuff's soaking. Right now I'm just cutting, using the X-Acto to cut this template, and I have my overhead projector in the other room, and I'm going to use this to project onto white fabric the you know, the shape of the bones and the skulls, and then I'll cut those out and get them prepped. And while I'm doing that, the flags are soaking, and hopefully that black sets, because the color right now is really nice and it just looks perfect. It's got a little bit of fade to it, so it looks like it's been out in the salt and sea and you know blowing in the breeze and getting UV degradation from the sun, although I'm sure none of the pirates ever thought of that. But anyhow, it gets weathered in the sun. So right now all I'm doing is just tracing along this line, and I'm going to cut these bones out, and then we're going to turn this into well, I'm going to lay this on the projector, and like, for example, here's a bone. And you know what, I should go, where's my pencil? I want to mark this, the lower left and the upper right, just so I know which way they're oriented when I go to place them. So let's say here, let's see, lower left and upper right. All right, so there's one, that's ready to go. So now we'll do this other one. I want to bridge this gap here, I think, because I want to keep the spacing between these two. So let's see, how do I do this? Let's see, what do I do? How about this? Where's the gap? It's roughly there. Okay, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to put this here. That'll preserve the spacing between the two pieces of the template. And yeah, so now I'll just cut this, and I'll, when I'm done, how do I want to do this? Yeah, I'll just put a piece of tape in here, or a piece of paper even, really, just to bridge that so it doesn't annoy me with its stickiness. So I'm just going to follow this around. I hope you can see. So a little bit back. So I'm just following it around. I'm pressing kind of hard, but you know, really what you want is the flexibility of it. It's one nice thing about the X-Acto, man. You're turning on even a finer radius than a dime. You know, it's literally the point of the blade, and so you can follow a line pretty accurately. And it's a lot like drawing once you get used to it. So anyway, here we go. I see someone who's joined the stream. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to make a big deal out of it. Every time I type hello in chat, people take off. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to carry on with my work. I hope you get something useful out of it. If you want to say hi, great. I'd love to chat, but I'm not going to run you off. I've got work to do anyway. So, now my fingers have stuck to the tape. That's not ideal. There we go. Let's go here. You can just drag this down along the edge. Now these bones are pretty much the same, and my guess is they didn't use anything near as high tech as this system. There you go. See, I mentioned it, and the whoever that was took off. I am vindicated in my skepticism, but that's all right. I don't care. All right, so now I am going to trim this off. There. I'm basically just cutting out bone shape along this tape, just to remove that. And there's that. And this piece. Good. And there you go. So now I've got the crossbones orientation. Now that'll be useful when I go to set it. What I really want is these pieces, because now I can set them up. Yeah, I'm aware of what it looks like, but hey, you know, that's the pirates. They designed it. I'm just copying. This, though, I can use this template to help orient it and also to find the size on the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of fabric. I'm going to project this onto it, and that'll give me where it's oriented on it and the rough scale relative to the overall size of the flag. Like the vertically oriented, I'm doing one vertically oriented flag and two horizontally, and the two horizontally oriented ones are, this is 150% of the size of the original on the vertical one. And the others, they're oriented the other way. But this will allow me to, and I can refocus the projector so they'll be accurate, but this is just going to help me get it the proper size when I cut the fabric. So I need to think about this for a minute, because I shaded this, and I've got the eyes, the nose, and the cheekbones, the zygomatic process, and all the jawbone here, lower mandible, upper mandible. What I want to do is preserve this piece too. This will help me as a guide when I'm painting, just in terms of the location of the eye sockets and the nose, and where the sides of the jaws are. So how do I want to cut this out? Do I want to cut these out first? Like, these are really notable landmarks. So I think, I'm taking this whole thing out because this piece is what I want. Because the paint on the what do you call it? The paint on the fabric that's sewed onto the flag goes onto a solid piece of fabric. So all I need are these shapes sewed down, and then I'm going in with I'll go in with some thinned black paint. But it's helpful to have these guides on there, so I want to preserve them. I'm going to go ahead and cut out these voids, and I'll keep this as a separate stencil. And when I go to paint them, I can orient this and register it to the skull that I have at that point sewn onto the flag, and then that'll help me as a guide for the painting. So I think I am going to do that. I'm going to just cut this. And there's not a whole lot to this. It's fairly simple. And I'm not in a time crunch here. I mean, the stuff downstairs, it's now been about 15 minutes since I put the, what was that? It's been about 15 minutes since I, hey there. Kitten is running around chasing a ladybug. Since I put the fabric into the dye fixative, and I'm going to leave it there for an hour or two. So I'm just going to get all this stuff cut. So when I take that fabric out and then wash it and dry it and stuff, hopefully the timing will coincide. Like, I'll be done with this stuff at the same time that stuff's done. But I've got quite a lot of preparation on this to do here. Just in terms of getting it, because I'm not making an exacting reproduction, but I do want it very close. I like the design of it, and I want to. There are quirks to, well, to every century's design sensibility. You know, the stuff that people thought. You know, a skull drawn in 1780 is kind of like a skull drawn today. I mean, the skull doesn't change a whole lot, but there are little subtle things that kind of tell you that, hey, this is an old-fashioned way of looking at things. And, some of those aren't even apparent, so a lot of times I'll just copy it exactly as it is, just with the faith that there's something that I don't understand, that I haven't seen yet, but that really does define it for that period. So I'm just trying to be faithful in my reproduction of this shape. Now, when I cut the fabric out, I'm not cutting these orbits and the nasal opening and the jaws and stuff. I'm just using this, or I'm going to use this to just to help me as a guide to painting. Like, I may project. My thinking right now is that I'm going to cut out fabric, white fabric in this shape, and sew it onto the flags. And then I'm going to stretch the flags out, and then I'm going in and quickly paint it, because they didn't spend a lot of effort on the paint, but it's done. It's kind of subtle, and it's done in a nice way. So I'm going to use these just as a reference guide. So what I'll do is I'll overlay, or I'll project this on there, and that'll just help me orient the eye sockets and stuff when I'm painting. But I'm not going to need that until later in the project. In the project, we're approaching the finish line there. I mean, we don't have a whole lot more to do on this. Like, it's all pretty straightforward. And once that fabric's ready, and once these things are cut, I'm ready to put these on. And then it's just a matter of making them look awesome, you know? So I'm going to just cut that smile in there. There we go. And for now, that's all I'm going to do then. I want to keep that as a single template. And you can see I can now lift that up, and so as I'm projecting, I could make a little bit of space there, and okay, that's the shape of that line, and that's the important one. You know, you've got these teeth here. That I can paint that. I'm not a drawer, so I'm just gonna, let's cut this. Excuse me. Let's cut this skull out, and then we have, I think, just about everything we need to start cutting fabric for all the bones and skulls. And so we're going to cut 6 femurs and 3 skulls shortly. And 2 sets are going to be the same size, and then the other one is larger. So let's just follow this around. And they're the same on each side, so I'm actually cutting more than that, because you know, I have 4 small, you know, making 2 small flags, or 2 small skulls and bones, and 1 large. But they're doubled, you know, they're on both sides of the flag, so I have double that number. So here we go. So now we have a skull. Voila. And I've got bones. Let's see. So I've got skull and bones. So now on the one, I can put these down, and then I'm going to have the larger skull and bones too. So I need 2 of these and 1 of the large one. I'm kind of at the point where I'm almost ready to start doing fabric, start cutting it out. I don't think I need to mess with the flags themselves right now. They're soaking away, and they should be all good. Yeah, I think these are probably ready to lay out on the projector. So I'm just gonna stick this on here, just because I don't want that tape sticking to things. So let's just push this here. Get my knife, and so I'm gonna just trim across. Here. There we go. That should, we'll just keep it from being annoying. There you go. Right. So just bridge that gap, so it's not I make a lot of templates that I have over the years. it helps to do that. So this one, while I'm thinking about it, this was lower left and upper right, and this is, yeah, let's mark this one too. Pencil. So, lower right, upper left. All right. And skull, obviously, is skull. So there's that. All right, man. We're good. Now, let's see here. How long has it been? 17 minutes. Okay, so I should be able. Plenty of battery power. Now I think I can start listening to the trash cast again because it's fun. I hope they don't take me down. This is it charging? Wow, we're at 5%. This may not last. But I like listening to it. You know? It makes me happy. Some of it. All right. Besides, there's nobody here. Why not?
You're gonna like being called that.
Right, I'm gonna mute the volume for just a minute, and I'll be back in a minute.
I'll change his name.
Okay. I don't know that that was.
Oh my god.
That.
What are you gonna do? Look at
Okay,
that.
so
You got a stack of boxes
just
there.
thinking this through,
Lots of
what I'm
stuff
gonna do, I've got a roll of craft paper there. You
What
can
is
just
everything else?
see it
What are
right
we
there.
looking at?
I'm going to make a facsimile of the flag, the size of the flag with that craft paper.
I don't know what I'm looking at. It looks like a mess.
I'm going
Maybe it's a
to
copy of
lay
one of
this
these.
on my overhead projector. I'm going to project the image onto the paper so I get the proper size, focus it,
Wow, dude,
and
what
then
is
mark
in there? I don't know.
the skull and bones of the normal, of the original size, and the skull and bones of the larger size, and then I can make my templates on the paper, and I'll use those, reinforce them with painter's tape. It's, I like to back the thing with tape, and then it doesn't fall apart. I keep these things, and I'll use it again in the future. So one of the things that
So what does that mean? That's like in
one of the things I was
2018.
thinking about is the
Yeah, I don't have one of those. I wish I did. I've got
that'll
that
be all right.
grilling joke. It's been out since John's
Yeah, I'm just gonna cut it.
That's the thing. Sorry.
Project it
New
onto
to
there.
me.
Get
It's
it.
new to me,
Actually,
so I
let's
don't have it.
turn
I don't think it's
that off. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Make a flag out of the paper, same size as the regular flag, as the real ones, while they sit. Project onto here, because I have one that's 100%, one at 150%. And then I can reorient the paper, draw my template, reinforce the back with tape, where I'm going to cut, and then I can cut out the parts. So I'm going to have a skull and bones at 150% and a skull and bones at 100% of paper. And then I just lay those onto my fabric, and for this one I need to cut 4 of them, and for the large one I need to cut 2 of them. And then I can turn the edges, and I'll iron those down, and then they're all ready to go. So as soon as the fabric then is ready, and this will take a bit of time, and then I'm going to bang it out as quickly as I can, because it's not brain surgery. I'm going to get these all ready so that as soon as the fabric is ready, I can stitch these on. And I'm really looking forward to that, because it's like we're in the home stretch here already. This is the hard. I wouldn't even say hard. None of this is hard, but the sort of tedious part was just 9 million stitches to do the hems and the reinforcing and all that stuff. That's all done. So we are ready to go. So it's time to make a flag. I need these are roughly. Oh, one cool note about that. I got an email. I wrote. So So when we were doing this, I found a reference image and was like, oh, this is one of the last two pirate flags, known real pirate flags, and it's in this museum in Scandinavia. Just from the photograph, I kind of estimated it. You know, I went downstairs and I measured our American flag, and I said, oh, it's about 2.5 feet high. So we were just we were kind of guessing at a size. And so we came up with, I think, 36 by 50 or so, 36 by 48, something like that, 35. And just estimated that, just because it seemed like a good size. You know, my friend wants to hang one on his wall, and you know, same with me. And it's a manageable size. It's not a gigantic one. And I've seen flags from ships of the period. There's this one that was captured I think from the Spanish Armada. It's just enormous. It's like the size of a basketball court. So some of these things are really huge. But I think that was from the Admiral's flagship. But still, a lot of times these flags are a lot bigger than you might imagine. Anyway, so we came up with this size. I got an email last night from the museum. I wrote them and asked, just what size is this flag, the original? And this is after I've already made the flags, and you know we're set on making our flags this size. She wrote back, it's 90 by 120 centimeters. Our estimate was within 2 inches of the height and exact length. So we just accidentally came up with almost the identical size of the original, just by guessing. Well, you know, this will work. So it was really gratifying to find that out. So anyway, I'm going to make a flag out of paper, and then set up the projector, and we're going to make some bones. We're going to make our bones. Okay, so maybe we'll lay it here on the floor. Let's see. Got my high-tech camera set up here with my painter's tape holding the camera to the top of the computer. And I know this is fancy YouTubing, so here we go. Is this thing moving around still? That's not it. All right. Knife up here, so I don't lose it or get stuck. I jammed my X-Acto in my hand. I stuck it in my sewing box yesterday and was digging around in there for a needle and ran my finger through with it. Not nice, but luckily, I don't know how. I think maybe it was just an instinct. I pulled back before it actually did any damage, and I haven't felt it at all today, so I was very lucky. So, if you're using knives, take care to keep them out of your way. Alright, close this window. Let's get to work. So, I've got my yardstick, I've got Sharpie, I've got tape, and paper. So let's make a flag. We're going 36. It's actually a little shorter than that. It's like 34 by 47 and a half. Every time I try to do it. So let's just drive this out. And I got the yardstick. I got some my shovel. I'm good to go. Alright, so how high is that? That's 24. Okay, so we're going to have to tape 2 of these pieces together. Let's go for the length. 36. Right? Yeah, there's 36. We want to go to, let's go to 48. So there's our 48. Put that pin down here. We got 36. Another foot gives us 48. I'm just going to draw a line. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just double this, fold it over, and then looks like a square inch. I don't know what, I'm just gonna measure it. I'll measure it. This doesn't have to be precise, this is really just to give me a pretty good idea of the spacing and the size and the composition of the thing. So here's 46, foot down, here's 48. Same thing here, 56. That. Now this is going to be my cut line. And then we're going to cut both of these pieces out and tape them together vertically just because we don't have enough height in them. So we cut them and then, oh, you know what, I'll just use this. How about we just take a knife, straight edge already. I hope you can see this stuff. No, you can't, but just take my word for it, this is fascinating. All right, I'll try to show you. When I get this cut and built, the cool stuff is when we put the skull and bones on the flat, right? That's what's actually important here. There we go. All right. Oops. All right, so now I want to cut this here also. And you can kind of, you don't have to move this out of the way. It'll slip right through the table. Like that. Now, we're just going to do the same thing here. Let's do this. Nope. All right. There we go. So now I want to take these two together. Hey there. Hi, sweetheart. So what I want to do is put let's just line these up. Oh, you know what? Just to make this neat and tidy, I'm going to measure up a couple of inches. So just measure up, say 2 inches here. I'll make a mark on each end of this, and then I can orient the top edge of the other piece. I'll do one in the center. I like to have, just as a sort of double check. And then, sometimes you'll make an error, and if you have that extra point, it'll point out that error. Something will be off, and it will allow you to make a correction before it causes a problem. So here we go. There's that. One there, and there you go. These are all pretty good. So now I'm just going to draw a piece of tape across here. I'm going to flip this thing over, tape on that, and then we have a connected template, and then I'll trim the overall height. Look at that. Got a little kitten here. She's curious. She's a budding Revolutionary War tent maker and pirate flag maker now. There we go. And here we go. So now, where's my knife? Stay back. Back. Okay. So I'm just going to cut just through the tape. There we go. Okay, so now before we do anything else, smooth this down. I'm going to flip this, and I'll reinforce the other side. Just see if I have a loose edge floating around. Of course, this method of making templates works for a lot of different applications. I know you can. A lot of people are 3D printing stuff. There's all sorts of high-tech solutions to things. Very often, old ways of doing things are the right ways. Back off, honey. now we have, get that knife out of the way. So now we have a large piece of paper, and I'm going to trim it down to be the appropriate size for this flag. And again, both flags, I'm making two types of flags, but they're both the same size. So when I do the large skull, I just change the orientation. Good to go. I think it's 34, 35. So my Sharpie here. And just going to measure down from the top. 34. If you keep your measure parallel to your edge, you get a more accurate measurement. So try to do that. 34. And then just a spot check in the center. Well, actually, this isn't even a spot check. The yardstick's obviously a yard long, and the thing is longer than that, so I need that to help draw my line. Put this here, hold it down, and draw this lightly across it. This does not have to be precise in this case. You can make precise templates if you want, and sometimes you need to. In this case, I really just want this so that I can throw the silhouette of the skull and bones onto the size and shape of the flag, and that'll tell me how big I need to make my fabric cuts. There we go, we're good. So now I want to cut with my knife. Cut this down. Knife. Okay. You know what, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to send a link to a friend of mine here who may be interested in this. Okay, so let's see here. There we go. All right. Okay, so we now have, once I cut this, you'll have the flag with, shape and size. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to orient this to follow the grain of my floorboards so we minimize damage. And also, that helps keep your line straight. Like that. Yes. I have a 4-bit here, and I have a cat to look out for, so I want to prevent her getting hurt also. Do not, no, don't do that. You're going to scratch furniture. I need to brace this end. Take my knife. Just draw this way. Okay. this. I don't need this piece, but I'm gonna put it up because I might need it in case I do. Stick a little piece of tape on it just to keep it rolled up now. There we go. Okay, so I now have a paper pirate flag. I have my silhouettes. Here we go. There's the pirate flag. I'm going to tape this up on the wall, and I'm going to set up my projector. So I should probably change the camera orientation. But first, I'm going to go refill my coffee. I'll be back in just a minute. And then we'll set this up, and we're going to make our bones. All right, we're rocking now. Got a fresh pot of coffee. I just checked the flags. They're soaking. I've got them in I think it's a 3.5 gallon bucket with cold water, salt, and kosher salt. And I tried iodized yesterday. It didn't seem to help. So what's her name suggested kosher, so we're trying that. So we are. I've got a brick on them, keeping them down into the water. And I poured a little. I moved them around and agitated and stuff. The water is not full of dye, which is a good sign. There is some color to it, so it's losing some of the color, and I suspect when I wash it, it's going to bleach it out more. But it's not. It doesn't have that distinctive purple color that I had yesterday. I don't want that. What I'm really after is kind of a gray, a deep gray. So far so good. We'll see what happens there. But we're ready here. I'm gonna have a bit of a rest for a moment just to gather my thoughts, and then I've got the projector set up. I'm going to need to be able to move it forward or backward, and I think I'll set it on a chair. I'm going to tape my flag up to that wall, my paper flag that is. I'll tape it up to the wall with painter's tape, which is low tack and won't damage the finish. And then I'm going to focus it so that this is proportionate, and I'll compare that to the reference image. In fact, I'll bring that up now because I need to see that. When we do this, let me go ahead and we want display capture. Let's open that up, and we'll reduce the size of my camera window, you see what I look like. There. We want this. So we now have, let's close this one. I want the black backgrounded one. There. So anyhow, load. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to orient the paper like this and just get it so that the projector is focused at this size. And then I'm going to turn the flag on its, rotate it to the left 90 degrees and then project it so that we have that image. And again, the flags are the same size. So I'm just going to rotate it and then enlarge, which would mean moving the projector back and then refocusing it so that it's crisp at that size. When I do that, then I can sketch, just sketch each of the bones and the skull at each size, and then reinforce them with tape, and I can cut them out. And I have a nice template for each of these two things. I mean, it's the same, same skull and bones. It's just different. What do you call it? Size. Complicated word there. So, all right. So let So I'm gonna make a test. I'm gonna go turn on my projector. And I'm not sure, I'll go ahead and, I mean, you know what this stuff looks like. So I'll bring the camera up to full size. Again, I don't know that you'll be able to see the flag on the wall. What are we looking for? Transform. I want to fit the screen. You'll be able to see a little of it, I hope. So I'll give it my best shot to make it visible to you, but this is, you know, again, priority is making the thing. That side, don't need these things. And that. Okay. These go here. This out of the way. Ooh, you know what? Just getting tape ready for the corners to lock it down once I find the right place, the size. This is going to take a bit of trial and error. Let me see here, I've got my skull and bones. So we want what I'm doing now is just approximating the size. I'm just guessing at it. I don't think that is quite what it needs to be, but it's close. Okay, so I got it a little too close right now. I'm gonna drop this over. Really, all I'm doing with this is getting the roughly the scale right. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. So put tape. Just taping the corners to hold this up, and then keep it roughly level. Right there. I painted this wall so I know what you take in terms of tape, and I won't damage it. So what we want to do, I want to look at my reference glasses. I think we just want a few inches. Let's see. View, full screen preview. There we go. Right there. So I'm just going to try to approximate this. So to that end, I'm going to drag the projector backward, and no, you can't see it, but I'm looking at my reference image. Anyway, Let's see here, if I move this way, does that allow you to see it a little bit better? Yeah, maybe, yeah, a little, okay, cool. Okay, so what I want to do is, we're not going full height, but pretty close to it. So I can draw this backwards. So I'm going to take the whole table. Seems like my fan is having some trouble. I want to turn that off. My fan's having a bit of difficulty. I'm going to open the window. Get some cool air in here. I'll sort the fan problem out later. There we go. Okay. Give me an idea how wide. So we're at, this takes up, overall the width of this is more than a third. I'm just looking at the image. You know what? We might as well go ahead and do this for you because there's nothing for you to look at while I'm not drawing. Yeah, so if we go over here, yeah, okay, so a little bit closer to the left. Actually, the placement of it doesn't matter so much as the vertical size and the rotation of the outlet. Let's do this. This actually looks about right. So now what I want to do is make it crisp. To be, it's about this spacing. I think I want it a little bit closer to the base, and I need to get it a little bit flatter. There's a thing that happens when it's if the template isn't exactly flat on the lens, then it tends to get fuzzy at the edges. So I'm looking for some kind of a weight that I can put on it. Coins are pretty good for that. Or how about this? Here we go. Musket flints. So I'm going to put these on to weight it down at the corners. And that will keep it nice and flat. So we'll do that, and then we're going to have I got to think this through in another way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on this the absolute outline, but then on a separate piece of paper I'm going to mark the actual bones that I want to cut out. So I'm not going to cut that. That is just to size it and get it positioned. So I need a sheet of paper just for the bones. What was that? Hello? Doing all right? Oh, you're ferocious. So let me get a piece of paper prepared. We're going to put this up, and I'm just going to quickly draw the outline. As with almost all of this, the setup takes longer than the actual execution if you do it right. Careful preparation here leads to a really good result. So I'm just going to get a sheet of paper, put it in the. Well, you know what? How big is that? Let me take a look and see how big that skull is, because I saved that roll of paper. I think that's it right there, right? Let me I think it needs to go slightly smaller, just a little bit. So it's maybe 4 at the top and 2 at the bottom. So it's a little closer. And maybe it just looks a little more delicate than the one I'm projecting. So maybe it needs to go a little bit closer to the thing. It's pretty close, but not much more than that. Let's drop it down a bit. Look at that. Over there, right? That's it. And how long do we got here? That's okay. Just estimating how much I need for the skull and bones. I think that's ready. Where's that roll of paper? Will that get the skull, or is that just the bones? Oh, you know what? That'll even get the skull. There we go. Okay, so I saved this cutoff from the other end, and I can use that to make the bones and the skull. So let's do that. Let me get some tape prepared and put this up. I am going to trace, so I'm going to draw it on here with the Sharpie, just so I know where it is and what size. And then I'm going to individually cut the bone template. And I suppose I actually have to even trace this. You know what? About the proportion on these things. I'm going to try something with this. Let's see here. Edit. Copy. Edit. Paste. There's a new layer. Image. Mirror. And now I want to, what I want to do is compare, see how centered this thing is. And let's go just at like 60% or so. Give me the move tool. So we're going to move this layer a bit over. I just want to see how much. Let's go. Go to normal. Normal. We'll just go 50%. It's kind of centered, but yes. Okay. So I think that's about right. It's about 4 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and then so maybe a little bit smaller, but it's not much. And then another way to compare this is also to go from here to here. And then I can just move and cut. All right, so it is slightly inclined to the left. That doesn't really matter for this part. I think that's pretty good. It can go very, very little bit. I don't even know if it needs any change. I really don't. I'm really inclined to just call it right there. Let me think about it for a minute. I think that's about as close as I need it to get. I mean, it's somehow on the photograph that I'm looking at on the computer, it looks more delicate. But looking at it on the wall there, on the flag, the paper cutout that I have, it looks great. I mean, it really does. It looks rad. So I may just go with that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I want to do about that. Yeah, somehow it looks more delicate on this paper. Maybe, maybe a little bit closer and a little smaller, but not much. I mean, because it's pretty dramatic and it's visible, and it would be visible from a long way off. It's high contrast, and you know, of course, it's a dramatic image. So, somehow, maybe it's just a little bit of an optical illusion. Seeing it on the computer screen versus full-size real life in the real world, it looks bolder. But I know it's right. I mean, I literally traced from the computer monitor onto the template and then projected it onto the wall, focused it, and it's tight. So it's a good image. It's a good template. So, you know, in these cases like this, I'm going to just trust my eyes. It looks right, and it looks cool. And that's what we're after here. We're after cool, and it looks cool. It looks like a pirate flag because it's a pirate flag. So, in just a minute here, when I finish this, we're going to trace some bones, skulls. First, I'm going to sketch it on to the flag with a Sharpie, and then I'm going to. I think then is when I should project the skull and the bones onto the template paper before I move the flag. After that, then I will. So I'm going to make two drawings here. I'm going to make one kind of a quick, loose one on the flag just to give me a visual representation of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the bones for my actual template. That'll be on a separate piece of paper. Then we're going to reorient the flag. I'm going to rotate it to the left or right 90 degrees, project the larger one, and check it in the same way. But it'll be quicker because I've already been through the process like I'm at, right now. And then do the same. I'm going to trace that onto those elements onto a separate piece of paper and make my templates. And then we're ready to start cutting fabric after that. Once I prepare the templates, then it's just I'm going to reinforce them with tape, cut them out, and then we'll cut fabric and start pressing it, folding the edges under like 1/4 of an inch, maybe even 1/2 inch, depending on how accurate it is. And then they're ready to go. As soon as the flags are ready, then I can stitch them on. I can paint them. Maybe I'll even paint them while the fabric's drying. I'm going to wash it. I'm going to let it probably soak for another hour or half an hour. The wash cycle, I think, is only half an hour. I'm just really hoping. So one part of this job that I'm nervous about is I want the color to be just kind of right. Like I don't want it jet, deep black, pure black, because I want these to have a feel like they've been out in the sun and the salt spray and gunpowder smoke and stuff. I want them to have a bit of wear and weather to them, and at the same time I want it to look like the black flag. I mean that's what hoist the black flag, and that's kind of important, So I want to find that balance between weather and legend and history. I think we're going to get it. I just never know exactly how. It's always kind of a pleasant surprise when it comes out great. Where'd the other bone go? I'm missing a femur. We had a gust of wind come through, and now I'm missing a bone. Where's the bone? Somewhere around here. Here's one. Here's a skull. Where's the other femur? This is lower right, upper left. Oh, there it is. It was just turned over and it's taped on the back, so I couldn't see it. It was dark against the dark floor. All right. Meanwhile, I'm going to listen to some goofiness, if they're still on. Let's see. Are they? I hope. I don't know actually that I can, but let's check my stream health. Is it? Yeah, it says excellent. So, okay. If somebody happens to drop in live, then they'll be able to. Nope, I guess they ended. Well, let's see, who else is on YouTube who I can listen to, and, well, Slim Pickens tonight, right? No. That's a depressing trial, I don't want to listen to that. It's just sad, man. Well, I guess I won't listen. I suppose I could go back and, you know what? I'm just going to go back and I'll listen to the last hour or so of Ethan's stream, just because I missed part of it because of my own.
Me off about Yellow Flash.
Let's see here. Can you drag forward? Where are we here? How about that?
For those other kind of mid-card publishing companies. All right, a little backstory here.
Okay.
Patrick was hitting me up about the Zorro stuff, and I'm like, I don't think you should do it. Like, I'm like, I just, there's an estate. And even Yanti looked up some information. It's like, yeah, these people have the rights, and he's like, they can't own Zorro. It's like, he runs a second chance campaign that's supposed to be Zorro. Okay, like it's supposed to be a Zorro campaign, but what he did is he ran a second chance and then threw Zorro at the bottom. I think
So here we
thinking
go.
he would alert the people that they wouldn't come up. So that's why you're looking at a campaign with only 36 backers.
All right, here's what we're going to do.
Because
I
it
got my
wasn't
bones, I got my
really a
skull.
second chance.
Let's take them in here.
The campaign was
I
up
got my
forever.
paper roll.
It was a way to disguise the Zorro.
One last
role.
double
They didn't
check
have
on
permission
this
from the
image
estate
here.
because Sean Gordon Murphy
Um,
bought the
Maybe I
rights
want to
to
make
the
it
Zorro
edit undo.
comic.
I don't want to do any of that.
Yeah, but I'm saying if
Stuff,
if
yeah.
you're on the video saying about trying
No
to
changes,
express how
please. Let's just
crowdfunding has
go
been a
back
good
all the
success
way.
for you, wouldn't you show
Okay.
something that
Dude,
is
full
better
screen
than
preview.
36
Now,
backers?
Yeah, he had a
That's the
six-figure
proportion
total
I want,
campaign.
so I'm just
Yeah,
trying
he
to
could be
get
showing
the
that.
skull
Why
to be
he
properly
showed this,
proportioned.
I don't know.
Let's see if we
I
can
don't
get it.
know, John. I don't know. I guess because he really wanted to show the Kickstarter. I don't know. Like, if you'll notice, there's a Kickstarter.
Oh, it's Kickstarter.
Maybe this is a dig at you, John.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it is.
Yeah, John, because of the Kickstarter.
No, by the way, just checking in on
Your
Flash,
stick.
guys. We're beating Yellow Flash. He's got 2178 people watching. We have 2544, so
we're
we're whipping him there.
13 and a
And
half.
this is all new, like we've never done that before. Flashcast is a much bigger show than Trashcast is,
13 and a half.
or at least
We're gonna call
If
you
anything,
Tobin.
needs to go just a
Yeah, we got it. It's a big deal. We appreciate that. Thank you for
Just a little bit
choosing
to the
this
left.
show rather than his show. I think our show's better.
I think we're there.
So
I think
thank you
that's
for
the
being
perfect
here.
flag right
Appreciate
there.
it.
All right, let me play
Just-
comics straight to your door. So during COVID, like that
There's
was
12.
like super rad. People really enjoyed that. Even though
Perfect.
Pencils Down
All right.
was happening,
Draw it.
myself, Whitney, Riot Press, we were getting books out to people, and there were some other people that were also getting
now I'm
books out
just-
to people.
now
We
if
were
you
pretty
can see
busy.
this,
Like we were making those books
I
and building
appreciate
comic
that.
books.
I'm just
Doing a
tracing
lot of live
the edge
streaming, making
of this.
toys.
Not that much.
All that stuff happened like during COVID, and then
Start
that
black
led
and white.
to more comic book
tracing
making.
the edge onto the
After we
paper.
did the first 3 issues of
Yeah,
Johnny
see
Phantasm, we did. John, you spent
This
time
would
this
give
page
me-
for 2 videos.
My skull.
Takes a long time.
Johnny Phantasm, Halloween 1985. So Pencils Down
And
happened
bones.
because of COVID. And when Pencils came back up, it was like everything was like kind of changed. Like, everything was different. There was a lot more people doing crowdfunding. The entire staff changed. It was like, was there a lot more people doing crowdfunding?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, just by the natural growth of things, but I don't know if
Hopefully
there's
have a
like
little
a
bit of
lot. I
light
know we all did
in
really
this.
well during that time.
One of the
But
things you run into
Well, no,
is
Pencils Down was only a few months.
you cast a shadow, and
It wasn't. And by the way, it wasn't
more
even.
information about
like
this
it was a
problem
really
and how
important thing.
things
No,
have
it
been solved
wasn't.
in
Like
the past.
it was just us
By
making
a
fun
long
of
way,
people.
guys. Check out
Understand, like it was
the
only
book
IW
by David
and a couple
Hoffman.
of other people
who's
were
an
told to
American
put their pencils down on their
artist,
projects,
American
and they posted it on
prominent
Twitter like,
in the
I was just
1960s.
told to stop working because of
Called
COVID.
Secret
Hashtag
Knowledge.
pencils down, and we was just a few people complaining.
Tim's Vermeer.
DC Comics
Tim
just used
Kanikowski,
that time
who,
to crank and get
invented
more books
Lightweight.
done. Marvel, I don't remember Marvel doing a pencils down scenario. It was just a few of the bigger indies in the mainstream that did that.
idea.
And Patrick remembers
There
it
you go.
being like a catastrophe industry-wide, and he remembers wrong.
Anyway,
Well, I think he's.
how some of the great masters
he-
counter this problem with
he's
having
reformatted
light projecting and
facts
they can
to
get an
build a
accurate image.
narrative for Riot Press and
But
all
check
this
out Secret Knowledge by David Hockney and Tim's
I
Vermeer.
don't see how it
It'll
works.
tell you everything you need
Yeah,
to know about how to solve the problem
all
already
the time.
projecting.
He was making his game transformer, and I was like,
What I want to do is I'm going to put, I now have my little skull cut out.
Goes into making a toy in
And
terms
I'm
of
going to
tooling.
put in,
How did you design this? And he said to me, he
I'm going to
goes,
put it on here just to
oh,
get
it's easy. Like you start
pretty
with
good
like a block
approximation
on a, and then you whittle it down, turn it into an airplane, and then you take it apart and make it into a robot.
And I'm going to go ahead and draw that on here so I can see it.
Okay.
Because at some point I'm
He
going to
made
want
it
to use
up.
this
John, he
just as a
bought
visual
the fucking
reference. I'll probably hang it on the
transformer
wall to
from somebody
look at
else.
while I'm sewing. Just
It
so I can
was
see
an
where it is.
established model. I was told this later by somebody else, and all he did was add colors to it and call it secret.
That's it
Secret.
right here.
You can get
So-
people like in Japan are making this shit, and you can just kind of prefab transformer, and he called it his own, and he put it in a box. He hired Matt Barr to draw a comic book for it, I guess. I'm not even sure if he paid him, and that's how that happened.
Wow.
I mean, I had seen it early on, and it was a computer model. Where the model came from, I don't know. I think people have had some problems playing with it and transforming it. Mainly, if I had to guess, because it was a computer model, it wasn't a toy.
No, it was. He gave me one, and I threw it right in the garbage because it came as a robot. I think I kind of unlocked it a little bit to kind of move it around. I went, this is entirely too complicated. I'm not going to sit here and read the directions about how to turn. Really, transformers are pretty intuitive. You pick one up and you do a couple twists and everything. You can figure out how to turn it into an airplane and a robot. His
That's
thing,
all
no,
we need.
you couldn't give it to a kid.
So now I
I
have.
mean, it just
Thanks, you.
way more complicated than that. Like it just
What I'm
became a
gonna
big
do
sloppy mess.
is-
And I just said, fuck this, and threw it in the garbage.
Already it
What
looks
if he's
pretty
a
rad.
genius? What if he's our Rain Man and we just didn't know it?
You know what?
I don't think so, Shane.
He just made a transformer on another level. We're just not there.
It's backwards.
You're looking
Right?
at, we just
I
heard
put
from
my
one of his
template down
close
backwards.
friends who just was
Damn it.
enraged at him,
Made a
in
mistake.
essence called him a liar and a fraud.
Now, I'm not going to change
Who
this.
uses people like a vampire and borrows
But I
their
am.
clout in order to appear like he's something that he's not, a talentless fraud.
That.
All of these things. I mean,
Goes
really,
the other
we
way.
kind of observed, you know what I mean? But we
And that's his
the other
friend.
way.
I'm
That's
just
a
trying
fact.
to
His friend.
I'm just trying to crack a joke. I
Yeah,
can't take
that
all this
means
high level
other guy.
anger shit.
What
And
I've done
that's why
is
when
drawn
that's how
this.
your friends describe you, you got trouble, man.
You got trouble, and then the thing is, then we saw the Dungeoneer files,
Okay.
and you see what Patrick was doing behind the scenes, and then we got the Jay Bama files where Patrick is sitting there trying. Patrick's just a piece of shit.
I put my template down
I
upside
don't like
down.
him very much.
I don't think I need to.
I mean, I hear you.
So
You
now I
know, he
have
told me to go fuck myself, and I was like, hey, I'm really glad I did a couple for you, fucktard. But I'm saying, what if we missed out and we
Not
didn't
changing
take
it,
him to Vegas? What if we could have robbed the casinos blind with Patrick killing cards?
Maybe if people were actually
If
The
you're
only
bad
thing
at
that'll change
everything,
is the
if you're
space
bad at
and
everything,
this-
you have to be
this-
good at one thing, right?
Wait a minute.
What if God just even it out?
Why did I do that?
No, I don't think so.
I thought I was being
I
clever.
can't believe, honestly,
There's a fine line
I can't
between
believe he got
clever and
Kelsey.
stinky, and this is.
I can't believe that. But from what I understand, he
Doesn't
gave
make a
Kelsey a big
difference
lot
for
of
the
money.
final result, but
So that he could afford to go to the convention
That's
and
the
bought
position
Kelsey's
of the
loyalty. I
think it's
can't.
roughly
Honestly,
symmetrical.
I look at this and I can't fucking believe it. You have to let people like that go.
Right.
You have to. I can't have that. It's like I can't. This is you're choosing this to be angry and to scream about us in private and
You know
because
what?
of this clown. That's what you're choosing. That is the choice you're making. Okay. Arrivederci. Vaya con Dios. Dummy.
The chat mad at me, by the way. They're mad at me. They're like, Shane's not mad enough about this.
Let me
I'm
think about
not
this for a minute.
vindicated.
'Cause I don't
You know,
think it
I'm
makes
like,
a
I'm
huge
probably
difference,
not
but
gonna be mad right now. But
For those people who don't know, Patrick Thomas Parnell and Mr. Biggins had a private DM thread called Riot Press Productions. We were in it with him for a little while.
I don't know.
We
What am I
left
gonna do
he
about
kicked
this?
us out, and he stirred
The only
up
thing is
the
that
most
my image is
incredible
worse.
hatred using Mr. Biggins.
Or is it?
And all this stuff.
Which is
himself
the
as a
most
victim.
yeah, it is.
His
I
whole
made a
idea
mirror
was
image of
he
this.
wanted to be the guy who
And I don't
arranged
want that.
parties and
I want
get-togethers. He and Biggins convinced
proper
half of
image.
Comicsgate that what Comicsgate really needed to do was get together and party together.
Yeah.
And that would be the key to Comicsgate's success if everybody got together and party. So they got together at Tampa Comic Con, and Patrick immediately took all these poor kids or adults, I'm sorry, to a sex dungeon, a sex club, where they walked around and filmed themselves like that's what we do. We live stream at a party, at a sex club with people walking around with butt plugs in their asses getting spanked, and it was like
All right.
it was embarrassing and weird.
that.
It was just
One
embarrassing.
big virtue signal
Damn it.
is what it was. See, we're not against people with butt plugs and nudists and yeah, we're cool.
So
This is a
this fucking
family
this slimy
friendly
nudist,
art
it
stream
tripped
I'm
up
doing.
a lot of people. They all had a great time. You know, they're like, this is what we need. Hey guys, you don't need our studios ever. You know, I understand. Like, most of these people don't have families. They don't go anywhere. And so they went to this party and they were just immediately like attracted, hypnotized, and entranced by this fucking mushmouth regard.
yeah,
And Biggins.
half of them probably thought they were going to Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, Bond.
It does not need to be.
So John Malin made fun of them and called them the Dungeoneers, which caused them no end of fury because this was the most special event.
As I
that
look
ever
at it,
happened,
on the right side of the flag
evidently,
should
and
be
Patrick
the
and
larger.
Biggins stirred them up in
humor,
private,
and that's
filled them
the
with hatred,
under-
filled them with resentment, and it's a thing. It's a fucking disaster.
Yeah,
And now, like there are a bunch of us, a bunch of comic skaters that feel disenchanted or disaffected or whatever. Like, I can't do anything about
You know
that.
what?
And I'm not going
What
to.
do I do?
I'm going to let them do what they do.
Like, I can cut this out.
I'm
now,
gonna
this
let
can be
them.
my template
I'm gonna
for
let them
these
drift
buttons
off
at
to
this
St.
time.
John. I'm just not even gonna reach out.
Another
And one of them
for
did come to me and go,
side.
well, I mean, if you want to send me the link, to this show, I'll be happy to come back on. I said, nah, I don't think so. I think you're cool where you're at.
It's like it's like you're that chick from Titanic on that cabinet,
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean,
and the Dungeoneers are Jack.
and Dungeoneers are Jack.
Okay, approximately
It's okay.
set
It's all right. You're
in
cool
place.
where you're at.
I think I'm
It's
gonna
out
redo
into the
this just
depths
because I
of
want this to
void.
be.
We all make our choices.
At this stage,
We all,
at
there are
every
choices
stage,
out
I like
there
to be
that
done
some
right.
of us are not satisfied and
And,
don't realize what we have, don't appreciate the people who go out of their way for them, don't recognize that they're looking for something else. Grass is going to be greener somewhere
I
else.
think that.
And to those people, I say, maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe the grass is greener. Let me know.
The grass is always greener until you end up in the desert. Anyway.
The grass is greener and full of hallucinogenic mushrooms, rejoice, and the butt plugs.
Because.
But we have work to do here, serious work. Promoting,
Right.
what are we promoting?
And that's that.
God.
There's that.
Promoting God. Yeah,
God's
Christianity. Anyway, that's where we're at. So, this guy right here, the Pied Piper, charming fella,
Alright, so.
PT
All right.
Piper.
Yeah, you're
I'm
gonna like me.
turn this around. This side is.
yeah,
It's a
This is not the side I want to use.
we'll change
On
the
the
name of
left.
that.
Let me just double check this so this isn't bleeding.
Very low level people who are in high,
Alright.
high positions now. People that basically cost too much to had to go, be let go.
Real quick, I need to think about.
So, Marvel, DC, a lot
We
of
need
these
to
big
take a flag
companies
off. They don't really.
kind of,
Right? The whole point of this was just to get the.
which left the market for us because, Johnny Pence has them, Johnny Pence has
It's a
them.
whole market.
This is your time,
Yeah, I
Patrick.
didn't do that.
Strike.
aren't buying Spider-Man. They're just like, what's over here? Oh, Johnny Phantasm. That's a market. There's a market. People are not going to be satisfied with my shit.
Damn.
Marvelous.
All right, I'm getting it.
Why not
I'm
just
gonna go
buy,
get a cup of coffee. I'll be
buy
back in a
nice
minute.
high
I gotta
definition
think about
camera
this.
and then think it, like if
What I'm
this
thinking
is
about
like,
doing
just,
is resetting
write down
the,
what you want to say,
resetting
where
this and
to
making
sit,
a
and
separate
then
one
just
for
say
the
it, say it
larger
3
flag.
times, 4 times.
It's not
So you get
strictly
a good-
necessary,
a good
but
cut,
I find
and
that I
you
make
just edit that cut, and then it makes you sound intelligent. That's what
better
I
templates if they're
I
good
know
all
I
the
think
way
that
through.
happened.
So
I
I'll be
think
back
we're
in just a
seeing the
minute.
Creations.
Okay, so I have, well, that's a nice thing coming back
Help
into.
me, Ryan.
So I have,
I'm like, Yanti, can you help?
all right, I've got, I took the flags out of the vinegar bath. They're in the washer now. Knock on wood, the color will stay. I hope so. And then we can dry it and get to sewing tonight, I think. Now I have a decision to make about this flag. I want my mock-up to be accurate. Drew it on the wrong side. It's not a big deal. What I really need, just for positioning, is the proper lines. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to redraw it on this, and yeah, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to change the paper at all. I'm going to, I think what I'll do, I'm just going to redraw these lines and indicate which lines are to be obliterated. How about that? Yeah, just do that. I don't need it. I don't need a new piece of paper. This is not a critical template. It's a good reference. Helps me place the things in, on the flag, but it's not really that important. I want to know where they are, so I do need to draw them properly. But this is not a. You know what I could do? Another thing. Yeah, I'm just going to redraw them and then scratch out the lines that don't belong there. That's all. Easy. Easy, easy. I want to get this rolling. So let's do that. That's all it's got to happen. No, I don't need that. I don't know what that button means, but how do I get this to play? Maybe my connection's not good enough for that. All right, let's close that. Hopefully it comes back up now. Anyhow. All right. Well, that's nice. Somebody liked it. Thank you, whomever you are. Glad you liked it. Okay. So anyhow, I'm gonna. I would have preferred a clean template, and this isn't a template strictly. This is really just for positioning overall on the thing. It gives me an idea. The only problem is it's backwards, and I thought I was being clever in reversing it because the image is reversed, but it's not reversed in the way that I thought it was going to be. It's been years since I've used this system, and I misremembered something, I think. But it is roughly where it needs to be, slightly off center to the left, very slightly more space at the top than the bottom. But just looking at it from here, it looks great. In fact, I could right now take that paper down, cut those bones, and just flip them over, and then I have, wait a minute, you know what? Hold on a minute. This is the reverse of the flag, right? No. Okay. apart from the fact that it is off-centered to the wrong direction, yeah, this is what the other side of the flag looks like. I don't need to do anything to this. This one is fine. All I need now are my templates for each of the femurs and the skull. I don't have to do a thing to this. The only difference is that instead of being oriented here, it's going to be 4 inches to the right. But the cutouts are exactly the same, so I'm not changing this at all. Good. I'm glad I sat and thought about that. Yeah, that doesn't need to change a bit. It's fine. I don't need this. I don't need that either. Yeah, so it's fine. That's what the back of the flag is going to. You can't see that, but well, maybe you can. I don't know why I have this showing here, but you transform. Fit to screen. Okay, so maybe you can see part of it. Need my glasses. Nah, you can't see anything. But anyway, you can just take my word for it. There's a Sharpie outline of the skull and bones up there. The only thing that's going to, this is what the reverse of the flag is going to look like. The obverse, is it obverse and reverse? The obverse is the front and then the reverse is the heads and tails. So this is what the back of the flag is going to look like. Those templates are fine. All I need to do is cut those bones and skull out. And in fact, I may just, why don't I do that? Why don't I just turn that into my template? I'm just going to go ahead and cut another one just like that, another paper flag, and I'll use that for the vertically oriented one, and I'll do it just the same way, and then I'll cut them out of these. It's kind of wasteful of paper, but I'm going to spend more time goofing around trying to save a yard of craft paper than I am actually doing the thing, which doesn't make sense. So that's done. Unless I want to just, let me think about that for a minute. But that one's good, that's ready to cut. How about, it's a pretty cool flag, man. That must have been terrifying. I mean, that was the express intent of it, but boy, that's pretty cool. So, all I have to do is keep in mind that this is the back of the flag, and that's it. Ooh, you know what? I don't have to cut a whole new piece of paper. What I'm going to do, all right, I got it. I'm going to use that. That is going to be, I'm going to cut those out. I have to take it off the wall anyway to reorient it. I'm going to take those out and cut cut these bones out. This is for the two accurate sized reproductions. Then I'm just going to put it back up, keeping the frame of the thing. That's all I care about on this thing, is the overall dimension and proportion of it. I'm just going to reorient it. I'll reset the projector, and then I'll tape blank paper, just roughly the size, trace the skull and bones on it, and that'll be the one for the special one. And we're done. That's it. Easy. So, meanwhile, my flags are in the wash, and knock on wood and keep your fingers crossed that, and whatever you do to get superstitions for a good dye lot. I hope they come out in a cool looking, nice dark black color. It's going to be faded, which I want, but the problem I had last night was it had this real strong purple cast to it, which I didn't like. It looked cool, but it was a little too purple. So I think I balanced that out today. I did black thanks to my expert boss who had an idea and did some legwork to make it happen. I think it'll fix it. I really hope it does, because the flags look really cool. I used a dark thread, and it was on brilliant white cloth and or fabric, and you know, when I dyed it, I was like, oh wow, that looks great. So hopefully this second dyeing and then treatment will make it just have that right look to it. But now we're ready to do this. Ready to do these templates. Do I need to do anything other than take that down and cut that out? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's ready to take down and cut out. I want to mark properly which side is which. But that's ready to cut down. Now, ideally, I used to have in my studio 20-some years ago, I had a wall that was kind of a self-healing material. It was fantastic for this kind of thing. I could have just cut it out right on the wall. In this, if I took my X-Acto knife to this template right now, my wife would, I would definitely require self-healing, because I would be in deep trouble for scoring a skull and bones into the wall here. So much as I'd like to, I'm gonna have to take it down. I'll do it on the floor, trim it. Or actually, you know, I might even use scissors. I've got a pair of scissors downstairs that I can use for it. I'll do that. I don't know. You know what? I'll just cut them roughly, and then I'll do them here on the table. I prefer cutting the X-Acto. There's much more control. But that's how we're gonna do it. This is the reverse of the flag, of the reproduction flag. So I'll cut these out, and then I will fill in with empty paper, you know, blank paper. Change the orientation, reset the projector, and draw the new skull and bones for the big dramatic one. The vertically oriented one is gonna look badass. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I was chatting with some friends today about it, and one of them saw the design, and I asked about it, and we were talking about it a little bit, and it's gonna look cool as fuck. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to see all of these. Hopefully we'll get I figure I'll be done with these in a few days, and then hopefully we get a strong wind. I'll string them up outside, and we can let them fly in the wind, and maybe get a couple cool photographs of it. All right, so I'm gonna have a cigarette. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but I'm about to find out, I guess. I'm gonna have a cigarette. I'm gonna think about this for a moment, and then I'm gonna chop this thing up and make something cool. Goodbye fairly well. Goodbye fairly well. All right, so what we want is, I want to go back. I didn't get to finish that last live stream. Hey, I wonder, is John on live now? I wonder. Don't know. But I know. Oh, you know what? They went 4 days ago. No, I don't want 4 days ago. I want today. What's the one that just ended? Videos? No, live. Okay, now, oh, I see why it stopped. So I was replaying the end of it, but I missed about 3 hours of it, 3.5 hours or so. And I don't like to do that. I enjoy it. I don't know much about comics. The last time I bought a comic book was 1978. It was at the IGA, and my mother let me buy a comic book. And it was Star Wars, and had Darth Vader on the cover. He was terrifying. So I'm not much of a comic book guy, but I appreciate him as a storyteller.
Is that it? Okay.
And the one before that, the top was Thin Blue Line. I read both of those. And you sent me this when I went. I'll read it eventually, but
Oh, actually, okay, so I started fine. Let's go.
it is interesting. And then I saw him in his little video where
Let's go back a little bit.
I understand Finatra's upset with me for
Oh, here we go.
objects.
Just BSing
Like
and
nothing I've ever seen
some
before.
artists who are really good at what they do, talking about the
And he
business of
pretends
art.
he doesn't.
I
He
really
gets mad
appreciate
about
that.
it. He's just like, throws a fit.
This
Like,
is
not
the,
in front of my kids. I'm like, Mike,
The
just
year
having
for
a
me to
hot
make
dog
some
here,
serious
what the
changes
hell's
in
the
how I
matter
do
with you?
things.
Anything shaped like a penis, even remotely shaped like a penis, immediately brings to mind penis to Spiller, which is, to me, his perfect.
Most of the people they talk about, I don't know. I don't know the comic book artists, except I remember Mark Silvestri. And I don't know why, but mid '80s when I was in high school, I remember liking his art, and I don't remember what books it was. Like I said, I remember I couldn't buy comic books, but I liked it.
I don't know why,
And
but I can tell you
stayed
why
away
you
from
have
it. Now, none of the stuff I paint looks like comic books, except I guess maybe a pirate flag or something. But most of my paintings look like
once upon a time,
look old.
I don't know, 70s or 80s, he saw
I was
this
talking to somebody recently who
get off of a motorcycle.
suggested I do some
Flowing black hair.
paintings like the ones I'm doing, but make them contemporary. She'd seen some in a gallery. And
He's like, I need to have
it's like,
that hat.
every time I try to do that, it just looks, all my stuff looks ancient. And I don't know why, but that's just how it comes out. So that's the way I go. But I like the simple designs. I like, if you're on, obviously if you're watching this, you're online. Go to Google or whatever search engine you like and look up Codex Borbonicus, Codex Vaticanus, and just Aztec Codex, Maya Codex. And you'll find, plus, you'll find some amazing books that were made of the Aztecs in the 1500s. And the style of them looks to me like comic books. I can't read their language, and I don't read comic book, their modern comic book language, but it looks similar to me. It's heroic tales, and it's myths, and it's history. The style of it is so cool. I'm really glad I figured this out, but I don't have to change that. I can just turn those into templates. I'm real happy.
I hope this guy emulates me one day. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing.
So here we go.
I have long hair now, but that
Let's make something useful out of this. So I want to. What am I doing here? I want to take that down. I'm going to cut them out, and then we're going to turn that into a template. And then I'm going to paste up a blank sheet of paper over the holes, and reorient it, and do the big one. And then I have all my templates, and I can start cutting fabric. And then we're gonna make something cool tonight.
To roast, I mean, review these comments partially. This is,
And here, the washing machine is working hard.
oh my God, here, hold on a second.
That's
This,
good.
and
I'm not
put this
moving this
here,
yet,
there
right?
we go. This is
Yeah,
Shadow
I can't.
of the
This can come down.
Enemies of Self, the hardcover.
I want to mark these carefully. Where's my marker?
Oh my God.
Before I take these down, and this is just the technical, like a helpful thing. I'm gonna mark on here.
You got a Kano White cover.
When I drew it, I want to write the pictures in reverse.
But the guy who bought it chose Kanan's cover. And I will say, like, good move. Mike's cover was really bad. This is interesting because,
Reverse.
Kanan White, unlike Mike, knows that, like, hey, not everything is a superhero book. You know what I mean? It's like, not everything needs to be a superhero book. This is a kind of a fantasy book, and therefore, drawing it as though it were an episode
Now I'm
or
gonna
an
say
issue of
reverse
Justice
of.
League is inappropriate. Let me pull this up a little bit here.
This would be upper left. Reverse of, not reverse, but reverse of
Yeah, you can set
upper left. Because I have my
Set it to him By the way,
primary
this right here
template
bothered me. Like I was
I
looking
marked
at this on
as
camera and I went, oh, I
upper
got
left,
light coming in
upper
somewhere.
right.
No, this is actually
this is reverse
on
of
the
upper
book itself.
left, even
Yeah, I
though it's
thought
on
that
the
was a
right.
glare. Okay.
It's not a glare. This is a glare.
And now
This
I'll
is
be able to
something
keep
else,
these oriented properly.
No, I see, yeah.
Glares.
Reverse of
Should I turn off my light so that we can get? What do you think of that?
Are the interiors gloss or are they matte or satin?
upper right.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So now I know where they all
Turn
go.
off
Reverse,
my light, I'll be
and
right
obviously
back
the
here.
skull is the
Okay.
skull.
Hey,
So
everybody,
now-
I'm taking over for a minute here.
I can take this down, I'll cut these out, and we're good to go for the next phase. New wave dance craze anyways, it's still rock and roll to me.
Except Spiking Madness. Everyone
Yeah.
accepts.
Do you have a problem with spiking madness?
No.
Not really.
I figured Spike would take it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay,
Spike has a good substitute. Unlike
let's
Sinatra.
cut these out.
There's Sinatra.
In fact, I also want to mark that this is the reverse of this,
Shadow of the Conqueror.
page, right? Does that matter? That doesn't matter.
Incredibly lazy cane and white.
but I do want to start cutting. Where's my knife?
Talk about that a little bit. You want to explain why you mean?
Yeah, so
Okay,
kind of the backstory
I
on
don't know if you can see this.
I
I don't know if it's important that you see it, but of course it is. You're here, you're giving me your time, you're giving this stream your time. Hello, little cat dude. You're giving this stream your time, you deserve to see something. So let me reorient this camera and try to make it so you can see this. There we go. That might help. Right? Giant cup of coffee there.
I'm sorry, not fiendish. Fearsome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted this book called Fearsome with you. It's going to be hot property, and you're going to be the man on it. And it just never happened. Like, Kanan kind of backed out and decided to work with Antonio Bryce again for some YouTuber that is a cook.
Yeah, like,
I'm also going to mark on this that it is the reverse. Since I've taken these templates on the reverse, I want the
would always say to me,
main thing, in case I decide to use it in the
Fearsome,
future, then I will
minute
know.
you're finished your work,
Reverse.
we will start Fearsome. And
Of-
he kept taking more
Reverse
projects.
of
He kept taking more projects,
Original.
like, and they were always like bad projects. Like I'm gonna do Brand
Layout.
2, and I'd be like, well, Brand made $35.
that way, in case I ever decide to use this, then I'll know that it's
No, I committed to
oriented
Brand
this
2.
way.
And then after Brand
Probably
2,
never going to
he
be
did-
important, but
He found the guy, Damn Drops, who was a
I'm gonna
YouTuber.
really
These
like
guys
it.
are
I'm
all
gonna
big
screw my
brain
floor up.
individuals who
I plan
think
to
that
sand
like
these floors.
any YouTuber with a
So
whole lot of
these
subs
shallow
sell
marks
comic
that I'm
books.
going to make in here
John, they
are
are a joke
never
to
going
them.
to be
You
seen,
understand?
and
Like
I'm
some of
gonna
these
get you,
people, they don't understand
cause
like
me in
exactly
trouble
who we are and what we're
with
about.
this finish.
So they go to
All
Dane
this-
Drops, who is
all
known
this
for
paint's
like
coming
buying
off.
cheeseburgers, eating them, and
This is
filming
the
filming
first floor I
himself.
did in here. It was painted a different color, and I just painted it black, and I don't like
Big
the
fat
way
black
it
guy,
glares
you
or
know.
it looks or anything.
They go to him and they go,
And I did
how would
the
you like a comic
floor
book
in the other
about you?
room, and I really
And,
liked
he
it
said,
natural,
sure.
so
And so
at
they
some point
created
in
a
the
whole
future, I'm gonna take all
superhero
this paint off and
who
then
gets
oil
the
this
damn
floor.
power
at the
whenever he
same.
eats a burger,
So
but he hates
any
vegetables.
shallow
He has to fight the vegetables. to
scratches
keep
of
alive.
the skull and bones are going to be
And,
obliterated.
yeah, it was, and Kanan drew it like this, like he did a really good job. And what happened was, Dave, I think they all, the two of them, Kanan
There's that.
and, the writer, what's his, Antonio, they both had this idea that like Damn Drops would promote the comic book on his channel to his large audience.
So there's the skull. So now we have a skull, and I can cut that out of fabric, and we're good to go.
Which has
Same
about
thing with the
1,000
bones.
subscribers to promote his comic book, and they made about $600 on it. After working on it like
Let's do
this.
this. Right? Like,
Yeah, you gotta have that. You gotta have
Start
that
here,
enthusiasm,
come
that
around.
marketing muscle, which you are.
all you gotta do is
for.
just
And if he would've
lightly,
done
you don't
Fearsome,
have to go deep
that thing
or
would've
hard,
done
you just gotta
gangbusters,
follow the
but-
line.
But yeah, Kanan
Just gotta
decided
get
not
all
to
those
do
little
that one.
And so
variations
because he
in it.
had
If
a
you
bad
draw it
experience
properly,
with
it's
one
easy.
YouTuber, John, I told him, I said, you need to draw this Popeye song for Eric
you know
July.
what?
It's gonna do really well. He's like, who's Eric
Think-
July? He's a big YouTuber, okay? So you should draw his comic book. He said, I'm not getting suckered into that shit again.
Yeah.
And he told Eric July no.
But also because one large part of that was he was trying to get work at Marvel. Like, he wanted to be
So
at
what I
Marvel.
don't
He
want
didn't
to do is
want to
cut
be
that
working
because
on
I'm going to go.
Spider-Man,
This is going to be a solid piece and I'm going to tape. It doesn't matter really which way I
that's
go
what
on
he
this
wanted
because
to
they're
do.
both.
Like, he didn't want to be
These
out
are
here.
both going to be solid.
He
But,
distanced himself from Comicsgate.
oh, actually, you know
And
what?
then he had the
Yeah,
opportunity to get onto
Good enough.
ISOM, and then he said,
Yeah, it does not matter.
nah, no thanks. You're one of those, you're in that Comicsgate sphere, and I'm trying to impress these people over at Marvel to where hopefully someday they'll just feed me an unending stream of cover work, because I hate doing interiors now because I'm fucking lazy.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
anyway, I keep saying, like, I will take Kanan to a casino, and I'll take him straight to a roulette table. I'll be like, what are you betting on? He'll say black. I'm like, I'll put all my money on red. All of it. And I will win every single time. Like, he has the worst luck and the worst sense of timing of any artist that I've ever met.
Yeah, and now he's the art director at Eric July's company. Eric July's sales have been going down, and Kanan can draw. Kanan can actually draw. He's one of the few people out there that can actually do some good work. He's not as good as me, but he's pretty good. And at any point in time, Kanan can go up to Eric July and say, Eric, let me draw any one of your books, and I will at least stabilize your sales with my incredible talent. But no, he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to work. He wants to do covers, and that's it. And he's probably still holding out that Marvel's going to give him more cover work. That's it.
And they won't. And it's funny that, like, his job with Eric July is the most pointless job in the world anyway. Like,
Yeah, art director.
Okay.
why don't you just hire one artist who knows what he's doing, Eric? Like,
Draw the book.
to draw the book. I keep making this joke, John, but I'm like, how many Rippaverse employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? One to hold the light bulb and another one to turn the fucking guy who's holding the light bulb. What the hell? What the hell do you need? Like, I got Kane and White to make sure that, like, Cliff Richards isn't fucking up and fucking me over. How is that? Like, what the hell? Who does that? Fire one of them. I don't want anyone to get fired. But fire, like, you don't need. John, listen, John, I've hired you to draw cyber.
Okay, we got a bone.
And I've hired somebody
One
else
femur
to
is
make
done.
sure that you do
Put that
a
up
good
here.
job.
Now I need tape
You can
to
have
stabilize
Michael
this one.
Jordan on the court, or you can have
Before I
him
take
as
this
an
apart, I'm
assistant
gonna
coach.
just
Seems like an easy choice.
just gonna flatten this and then make a bridge.
It's Michael Jordan.
I'm just saying, you get somebody with some actual skill and ability. You know, assuming you couldn't get me, you go with Kane and White.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. So Shadow of the Conqueror, Enemies of Self, which right here, this could be Mike's biography.
There you go.
Enemies of Self. Mike is his own worst enemy. I think we can agree with that. I don't know much about Shadowversity except I saw this video that he made where I've seen his drawings. His drawings are really gay. They're like a 13-year-old girl drew them. A lot of like drawings of little tiny nymph-like women holding gigantic swords. It's all very like if you see a big like a sword as a penis, which it is a phallic object, right?
Yeah.
And then all you do is draw 13-year-old girls
There you
like
go.
holding them.
Oh my God.
Like and they're way too big.
Mike.
No, I'm talking about.
There you go. Now we have two femurs. These are the original size thing, and we're good to go with that. Now, rehang this.
Good. It is interesting, and then I saw him in a video where his brother's name
Before I pick it up, I need to tape paper on it.
Jassa Brooks, and he's actually in the comics.
Let's go the other side.
Yeah, great.
Austria.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna see the video.
So, paper.
What do you think about that logo?
Why? I don't know. It does.
Yeah, Shadow of the Conqueror. What do you think about that? Like, you think that's like a good call on that?
I don't care. Like I don't
We need
like.
to see how
It
close to
doesn't
the
make me
edge
want to read it any more or less
this one
than
comes.
I already do. What do you think?
It makes me think that it's gay.
Not to reproduce any of it here.
Keep
So
the
thank you.
borders because the size of the
Yeah,
flag
if you're
is
gonna
the
do that
same.
though, if you got those
So we're gonna
speeches
go
to burn,
just out
like
here.
I've been
I'm
doing
gonna
this
roughly cut
recently
this.
with, like
There's
a
not
Megastorm. I
a whole lot of
laugh,
detail to be
like
had
it's
in the edge.
cinematic. It's like
Nice.
a black screen. You know, if you're gonna put your indicia information down there on the left in white, that's cool. But just nice big black. It makes it feel a little different. I like it.
You don't like the swimming pool water
No,
here? No? Alright. This looks really weird too. Shadow of the Conqueror, Enemies of Self, and then you've got this here, some land floating in space here, islands in space. And then this makes it look like a textbook. I don't know what it is, but this looks like I've got to make sure that I have a paperback book cover on it. And I will need to return it to the school at the end of the year. Shadow City PTY.
Okay. Let me
Limited
take this
Honor
on
Guard
here. I mean, I don't
Productions.
have. I need some tape.
This, John, this is the Liberace of swords.
Yeah.
All we care about right here is getting
Yeah, it's flamboyant.
the
This
overall
looks like
size
it
of
was
the flag.
designed by Napoleon Dynamite. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in
Let me
his
look at that again.
notebook. That's the other thing it looks like to me. Like Napoleon Dynamite would be like, I designed this wicked blade.
Yeah. I like that they put it on two opposing pages. Like, hey, this sword.
Okay,
And,
yeah, it
also
goes
this sword.
And
pretty
then
close to
you
the
take
edge, like right here
it's
is-
the same sword. It's not any different. I mean,
Yeah.
In fact, I want the
as I was saying, like Chad,
the
I
clear
don't watch
background.
his channel at all.
So let's get
But he seems to fetishize swords, blades. He thinks they are awesome. They're really awesome, and they are. A sword is nice, but like he imagines this hilt here, which is fucking
Right.
like this is like
I want to be able to go close to the edge.
it looks like
That's what he wants. That's what he gets.
it looks like something Nancy Kerrigan would wear
Tape.
around her roller skate or
Yeah, it looks
rider
Do
skate.
this. I'm
It's
just
like
going.
a tiara on the hand.
A tiara, yeah, like it's Miss America's sword.
Tack it down.
It is
We're
gay.
gonna pop this up there and
Not,
sketch.
I
Once I
don't know if
get
it's Mike's fault.
the
Mike
set.
designed that sword. I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Yeah. Oh, it's like
a template from this.
either
It'll be,
Mike or
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I always suspected Mike was a fan of maps. You know, I always assumed, and maybe Mike, you know, is the kind of guy who, thinks about maps quite a bit.
The thing with this is,
What is this,
This,
like autism? That we're like,
show.
because I mean, you know,
I don't know
I
most of
wrote
these
the
artists.
don't get me wrong, but like,
a lot of
he
stuff
does
they
the
talk
same
about
thing, like,
is
where
useful.
it's
A lot of it
Chuck
seems to
doing a
be
map, you know, but
drama.
like John, I used to do a map too, you know.
Some of the art critiques are really good. A lot of the business stuff seems to
This
be
is the
really
lowlands, and this is the
valuable.
highlands, and this is Dorkville.
Oh, you know what? I have that roll of stuff. I'm gonna use that.
What does it mean? What is it all about?
I don't know. Looks like this broccoli.
Where is that?
It's a broccoli. It's like a triceratops skull,
We want.
or a styracosaurus.
What is
I
that?
mean,
You know, I see it. Yeah, the beak down below. Yeah.
yeah. So the story here, I read the story, and the story, if there is a story, and there isn't, goes like this. This guy here
Perfect.
is
Look at
an
that.
old man who is the conqueror. He ruled, I mean, with an iron fist, this guy. He raped a lot of 14-year-old girls.
What?
Oh,
He
hell
killed,
are they
yes, he killed, but that isn't in the book. Mike left that part out.
So they're adapting a novel to a comic
He
book.
killed a lot of people.
They're
He's
changing
just
it
a
to
big
this guy's a
fucking
terrible guy.
monstrosity, like terrible guy.
Yeah, they'll
And he stands on the cliff. Now, most of this book is him getting ready to jump off the cliff.
look at that, man. That's darn
And
near
he's
perfect.
going through his life, and he's talking about why
That's darn
he
near
should jump
perfect.
off the
Scott, what do
cliff.
you think of that?
You know, that's most of the book. Here is Mike. This is what I hate about Mike's artwork.
I'm just gonna run one line down
And
here
I
because
do
I've never going across this
I can't
line.
really put my finger on why. There's just, by the way, I will say this. I like this a lot. Like this, I'm very happy with it. So I'm pleased with it.
And there's that.
As soon as I turn the
Okay,
page,
so-
I see this and I go, oh, it's Mike. It's Mike. I don't know what it is. Like it's
So now we go
like,
vertical
look at this,
orientation
This is like, look at his face with all his teeth
and
showing. Like
draw
he
that.
has like a full set of dentures in their mouth at all times.
Once we get that up,
The vampires, they all have the same
cut,
stupid haircut.
drawing the cut.
They're not
We have
scary.
everything we need to start
They're
cutting
just
fabric.
kind of like Mike drawings. You know, it's like, oh, there's a whole army of flying superhero vampires. effort that went into it. But like Mike has absolutely no sense of telling a story cinematically, none, and he can draw just fine. I mean, it's not like I could look at anything here and go, well, this is wrong or anything like that. That's what Mike does. But you see, Mike cannot tell a story in a way that's like, wow, that really moves me. This scene meant something to me a little differently than the prior scene. This here is supposed to be a terrifying moment when the family, a family from like Middle Ages kind of fantasy times, is fleeing their home because flying vampires are coming at them, and it looks funny, like it's comical, Mike. I mean, John, it's comical.
Yeah. Yeah, and the lettering here, the placement of the captions, that's terrible. Like there's an like
It gets worse.
if you were to draw a line, what would you say that reading order is for those captions?
Okay, so I would say that it goes from here
This
to
will
here
also be the
to here,
reverse.
Yeah.
Right, so
and then
we're,
from here. But it
it is
doesn't
roughly
it
even,
goes
maybe a slight bit more space at the
like
bottom
that.
and top, but
So
I think they are
It's a
roughly
let's
the
take the
same
one in
amount of
the top
space at
right
the top
and
and the bottom
move it into that whole
and the side, so
diagonal
it's
line, and then
mostly
the all
centered,
get
so
rid of
just
it.
maximize the
Yeah,
skull and
he
bones.
does this all the time too, because there's a lot of like double page spreads like this with like multiple panels. And as I was reading it, I was really like, you know, Graham Nolan congratulated me because I showed an 8-panel grid page of Cyberfrog, and he's like, it reads so good to see an 8-panel grid. It feels so good. And I remember drawing it and being like, here I am kind of telling a story a little bit with the camera. It's not really like that exciting to draw something like that, but I must say, when you're reading it, it's a relief to have a grid, to have panels, where the artist isn't being so fucking creative and just like telling the story. Every now and then, just tell a fucking story. Stop showing off. And this knight is so fucking gay. Like,
Perfect.
this
Now
is
I
it.
need
This
my
sword,
Sharpie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, that took me a second there. I thought that was like, I was reading that as like some kind of blade, and I was like,
It's going up her skirt, dude, and it disappears.
Yeah, it just disappears.
Oh, he's
over
down
fucking
Sharpies.
roads, like,
You know what would have solved that? If this were a panel.
Where's my Sharpie?
right.
If this were a panel, it would have been so much better. Like,
What hast thou done
you
with
don't
thy
have to worry
marker?
about where the sword goes here, because the sword should literally, since this guy's bigger, he's in the
When in doubt, look under
the
your
sword
temple.
should literally go up and over every other aspect of this page.
Right.
But it doesn't, because Mike had to try to be creative, and he's like, oh shit, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Let me just make the sword disappear up her fucking dress. And there are, two different ways to solve that. A, just announce that this guy's in the foreground of the whole thing, and then have his sword go up here. Or, for God's sake, draw a panel so that we can at least follow it, and you'll be able to read the dialogue, etc., etc.
Or Mike is just a pervert.
Oh, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah. He's like, look, it's going up her skirt. Notice it doesn't come out the other end.
Look how stupid these vampires look. Look at this fat one here. This looks like Mike.
That's what I was about to say.
It does look like Mike. Oh God, who cares? Alright, so here we go. Now we got the guy, he's holding his sword. Yeah, it's just silly. I mean, there's a lot to like about what Mike does. I like the backgrounds here. You know, it's like he does fully draw the backgrounds. He is working really hard.
He could be my background artist.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Like, if Mike wants to come in and do, some background, maybe
Here we go.
render some trees.
Yeah, draw some
This
bricks.
again is
Draw some bricks. Alright, so this guy, look, I conquered everything. Hooray. And you got the women here. Everything Mike does, like, none of this is real. I don't believe in any of it. This is pretty nice. I like this panel here. But again, you run into the same problem. John, how do you read this? What do you think? Do you think you go from here to here and then over
That's
here?
how it feels. That was my first impression. I was a little confused. But then I looked at the archways continuing on the next page, and I'm like, okay, it must.
all I'm doing is
It must go like this, right? I read this page 4 times before it made any sense. I went, it's got to go like this, because this is this panel bleeds into this. Look, she's over here and here.
Yep.
This is all one image. So surely I'm reading this, and then I read these, and then I come down. Nope. Wrong.
You're getting a
Psych. From here to here.
no.
That's how you read it. Yes.
What the fuck? It might.
By the way, I might.
Blame. Who gets the blame for this shit?
Well, I mean, it had to have been Eric Weathers that. Who lettered it? No, somebody named Dave Lamphere lettered it.
Oh, Dave. No. And you know, fuck you, Dave, but also fuck the editor who left that like that. Whoever was overseeing this.
That's Mike.
Mike.
I'd like to see
Mike, you dummy.
streams like this,
Yeah,
Alright.
comic stream, but for fine art.
Let me get my money.
And I never hear landscape artists talking about
So you
it.
got some people hanging here.
Not in public, anyway.
This is interesting. I like this here. I like the hanging pose.
Useful.
And I like the feet in the foreground where Mike kind of used one-point perspective to push them all the way so you see a full figure here. That's very nice. What I don't like, again, is I don't like the fucking gayness of this kid sitting there. You're watching people die. And look how cartoony and cute this kid is. Like, Mike, the thing is, Mike, again, doesn't even, this kid's supposed to look disheveled and stuff.
Yeah, the kid is ripped. Look at his forearms. Like this
He
kid
looks
is
great.
An athlete.
Yeah, he looks
He's
just
just
look at his
tracing
hair.
along
His
the
hair's
edge.
like Kirk Cameron's hair. You know, it's like Mike has a real problem, like really setting the mood or setting a scene or selling anything. I don't like. As I read this, I don't believe a goddamn bit of it. None of it. None of it is real. This knight with his face and his eyes too close together. I don't believe him. I don't believe any of this. Look at the flying knights behind him.
Cut out
I don't believe this guy with his big teeth.
bones. And when I cut it, I want to cut it
Oh, is
bigger
it
than this
contour?
by
I
at least
believe
a quarter.
that is the
maybe even
conqueror,
more.
yes. As he's
And that'll allow
remembering the
me
good old
to
times
fold
and considering suicide, which is what I was
some
doing
in
when I was reading
underneath
this.
the fabric, right, so that I can
Alright,
stick
so,
it down and it won't
here
fray
we go,
or
back on the
rattle.
cliff, he's remembering, and now he's gonna step off the cliff, okay, and just end it all.
Yeah.
And, the end, that should be it, right?
Yep.
It isn't though, because as he falls, Shad does this whole thing where Shad doesn't want to say God or the devil, evil or darkness, or evil or goodness. So, like, light is goodness and dark is badness. So he'll be like, what the dark is your problem? You know what I mean? Like, dark becomes, or black, he uses the word black to sort of be evil. You know what I'm saying? So, he's falling, and then he's falling into the light, which would be heaven, right? But once he reaches light, he becomes young.
There's that.
Oh.
I don't recall, this is Twitch, but I don't suppose it matters.
Wait, is
Now,
he being
I'm over
shat
my
back
skull
out into the
here
world
again.
as a kid, or?
Yeah, kind of. He becomes 17 years old, but he's still like an 82-year-old man. So he's 17. You understand? You see
That
where
makes
this is going?
that makes suicide seem cool.
Oh, you know what? It's not the damn
Like,
it,
is that
it's
the
not the
trick? So if I
reverse.
can
This is
jump
the
off the
obverse.
cliff, I come back as a
Not reverse.
teenager with all
Oh,
my
reverse.
knowledge.
Well, you could do that, but imagine this. Imagine if you're 82 years old
messing around with the tendons. I mean, it's stricken the bone. Just a good old axe swing takes care of it.
Yeah. All right. This is about. I like Mike's artwork here as he cuts this guy's head off and he goes.
Yeah.
Mike likes drawing like a lot of teeth. Like mouths are always open all the way so you can see. Look like even.
Yeah, it's
You
a
can
very
see all the
square. It's a very square set of teeth. It looks like it doesn't look like it
There.
arches around it. It's just like.
Yeah, but even right here, like.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit of an arch. A little bit of an arch would be okay.
Yeah. Alright, I gotta skip some pages or else Mike is gonna copyright strike us. By the way, way to trace the Spider-Man movie poster from 2002, Mike, as he climbs up the wall. Do you recognize this?
Yeah, see Tobey Maguire climbing the wall.
Why does Mike have to do that? Why does he have to trace the Spider-Man movie poster from 2002?
Yeah, he's just, I don't know.
Mike, just draw.
Getting that money, I bet champagne's on time.
Yeah, he does. So here he is in bed with a child, and he remembers how his own daughter was taken from him,
books.
and he tells the child to leave.
I'm getting a bunch of weird
Remember, this is
All right.
oh wait,
So,
no, this is him in his older self. This is him
Wow.
remembering his
Okay.
past, I think.
Oh, when he was right
Where he
That's what he wants, and that's what he gets. This is gonna be rad, dude.
Him at 17. He's up there
Alright,
remembering
let's
it.
skip this. I don't care about that.
Wouldn't mind
Whatever
if
that
you would
is.
just stand back
I'm
and let
interested
women
in
have
how you
more.
sell
Like this is how we would like you
That's
to be.
what I wanna know.
When they
That is
show
awesome.
women, black women being like
This-
lesbians
I'm done with-
who are super smart, this is what they would like you to be.
Well, this-
They would like you to stop reproducing.
I'm just
That's
ready
the
now
first thing.
before
Be
I
a
take this
lesbian.
down.
Stop getting pregnant and having kids.
got
And the second
my
thing is they think
small and
you're
my
stupid,
large.
and you need to go to school and become a genius.
Wait a minute.
So they show like, oh, this is a super smart, super genius
Wait a minute.
lesbian. That's what they're hoping
No,
that
that
they
is-
can condition black people into. Men can be less,
Hold on.
can be harmless.
What?
Black men will be harmless, and
Yeah.
Black women will be super
this
smart
is
lesbians
reversed,
who are
but
really
that
into
is
the
awesome.
science.
That's the correct
and become
orientation,
doctors, and then they'll be
which
happy
means
in
that
society.
the-
Then things will go exactly the way that they'd like
So I
them
need
to
to,
be.
I need to
This
adjust
is
those,
why I'm
because
telling
that
you,
is properly
do not hire
oriented and wrong.
SJWs. I
So
don't
I wanna
care.
just
I
take,
really don't care. Like if you think, well, these SJWs, they're
I need
not
to change
going
the
to
label
SJW
on it, but
around
the
me. I'm
drawing
going to
itself
watch
is
them
good.
like a hawk, and they're not. Do not hire these people.
Change the
The minute
label,
they're out there
the-
going trans rights, they're human rights.
Right.
No, they're not. Get the fuck out of here. Enough of this shit. Enough of it. I don't want you working anywhere near me where I'm trying to be creative and run a business.
Left.
That's it.
Okay,
Don't
these are
hire.
ready.
Yeah, and then like you look at what Aaron July is doing over there too.
Yeah,
It's like
Dude, these are ready to
he
cut,
has
so
a book
cut
called
these out.
Yara, and then what does he do? Like
I have
that's SJW.
the small ones, I
You
got
get
the
a
big
book
ones.
about woman, you have
I'm
to have
ready to
a
cut
book
fabric.
writing it, you
So
know, it's
I'm gonna go
John,
take a
the
look
science
and
is
check
just
my
smart,
washing machine and
crazy.
see if the flags are good.
You have a
Hope
dossier.
they didn't all bleach out or something.
John,
Be right back.
it is a fucking Trojan horse into what
Oh,
he's doing.
this-
If I care, like I'd be like, no, don't do it. I like it. I think it should be funny. If Ripper Merch goes SJW, I will laugh. I will say that's funny. And you know what? You should have listened to yourself like the old you from 4 years ago, and this never would have happened. But I mean, yeah, it's absolutely true. Like, why copy them in any way? Why copy what Marvel is doing? I'm gonna do, we should do books about black people, and it should be me and John writing them. And it is. Look at what John's doing. Holy shit.
Yeah,
And it's good.
Black Riding Hood. Black Riding Hood. Yeah.
If I had a book about a woman, just have men write it. Why would I let a woman write anything? Who cares what women think?
Yep.
Oh, well, you're gonna get some insight into how women. Who cares?
Yep, and then it becomes, oh well, I gotta protect them. I gotta show. Maybe that's what they are. They're tokens. Like into Hollywood, be like, look, no, we're progressive. Look at we have women writing our women books, and aren't I a good guy? Aren't I a good guy? And then they're gonna start signaling. And then, but the thing is, if these women are as bad as you say, I haven't seen the information on them, but if they are full on SJW, then yeah, it's just gonna be a matter of time before they start saying, you know what, maybe you should show everybody that you're not, sexist and or a homophobe, and we put, how do we make one of these people gay? But we do it the right way.
And we do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an entryway into Hollywood too, and I've seen this happen to a lot of people. They start out being conservative, and they seem to be like conservative Republicans, and then
Oh, hell on wheels. Why? So this whole time I've been broadcasting to the floor. I'm very sorry for that if you've sat through any of this. I know nobody has.
falls off.
I just checked the washing machine. The black is perfect. So our flags are looking good. I'm going to get my template down. Damn it, I wanted to show the drawing of that thing, but, well, that's how it goes. I will show the cutting and the sewing. So let me pull this template and we're ready to go. But I just checked the fabric. I'm washing it again just to be sure that it's not going to run. But it looks awesome.
I spent
So,
my
real
life
happy.
already working, like half of my life I already spent working around these people.
I can pull this and trim them out.
Around those people anymore.
Here we go.
It's so nice.
Yeah, I like that. Ricky Gervais had that bit about how all these actors, like if Al Qaeda had a streaming service, they'd run out there and let me in, let me in. Yeah, they're fucking shell.
Oh boy. All right, so
100%. Why? I mean, listen, there's some stuff that they can write, but it's nothing that I'm going to publish. Like,
Look, if they're writing like the next level fucking material, and they have an established track record of being the greatest fucking writers of all time next to John Malin, then maybe give them a shot. But if they're just some chicks with some mild interest in it, and I don't know, maybe like, no way, dude, no way.
well, hold on. Like, I would let a woman write something if my audience was, if I were aiming to sell to women. I'd be like, I'm writing a book about, I don't know what the hell I'd be writing a book about. I'm having a book about something that would appeal to women. And I might have a woman write that. But I'd rather just tell men what to do, because men could probably do it better.
Yeah.
Like, here's how to write we're going to aim this book at women. So basically the lead character is going to be a bland cipher. She's pretty but not that pretty. And yet the entire thing centers around, the entire world centers around her, revolves around her, validates her,
Somehow.
tells her how awesome she is.
okay, we've got a big skull.
Falls in love with her, he's a perfect man. But then there's another
Now
man,
we're gonna pull these giant
he falls in love with
femurs.
her, and the two guys are like fighting over her, and she's like, I don't know what to choose. I can tell a man to do that, and a man would do better than a woman.
God damn it.
Say, so what we're gonna do is create some bullshit for a woman to like break herself, to project herself
You
into,
okay?
and make herself the center of attention where all the men want to fuck her. And she's just
Yeah.
especially, yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, I can do
Where are
that.
you?
You know,
Yeah.
because you would explain that to a woman, and she would
Are
be
you
like,
okay?
she'd be like confused by that. But I think that's information. When you write that, they can do it. They can absolutely do it.
Yeah, but also, I mean, you start bringing in chicks, dude. How long before there was like a Me Too? You know what I mean? Just like you said one thing off the cuff, and then someone's trying to fucking come at you and shit. Yeah, you hire a dude. There's none of that unless you gay.
Yeah, there's none of that. The women these days are tough, John. I walk around the hallway, I want to smack a lady on the ass, and suddenly, like, I'm brought up on charges in HR. Like, you can't even be a nice guy anymore.
No apparent injuries.
The world has really changed, though.
She does seem scared though.
Used to be a compliment.
Knocked over the ironing
You know
board.
what I'm saying? Hey,
All
Good
right.
job, honey. Good job.
you just gotta be
Which one do we want?
nice
We
hits,
do-
and, suddenly you're
do you want this as a solid-
Yourself. Like, I was paying her a compliment. It's hard, man. It's hard to know where those boundaries are at work. So you might as well.
Now, of course, I've reset my camera now that I'm back on the floor. So let me move this again.
You've got great guys like
Here.
one of the best editors in comics, and he really was. And by the way, everybody knew that. Everybody knew he was one of the best editors in comics. But they dangled women in front of him, nerd women, who wanted
Nerd women?
to rise the
Oh, my
ranks in
goodness.
comics. They dangled them in front of him like catnip. What's he supposed to do? He had to put his tongue in your girlfriend's mouth. Like, he had
No.
no choice. Why was she even there? Why was there a girl in
Don't do it.
When you think about it. So they had to get rid of him. There's a competent piece of horse flesh there. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to edit comic books, and he had to go. Why? Because of women. Sorry, gentlemen, it's women every single time.
Women weaken legs.
Women make legs weak.
That's so stupid. We're in trouble for this rant. It's worth it. I don't care. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. Jorby Jimson for $10 says, are there any examples of comics you like with bad main casts? Seems like one of your main issues with the writing in both Alpha Core and Shadow of the Conqueror is that the leads aren't decent people. It's not that they're not decent people, it's that they're also not likable. Tony Soprano is a piece of shit, but he's a likable lead. You're invested in him somehow. Don Draper from Mad Men is a piece of shit, but he's likable. He's charismatic.
Let's put some tape on here to bridge this. Where is my...
Alpha Core, they're just assholes, and you're just like, you must have so much power, and yet you behave like children.
Don't want is a bunch
you
of...
say failure isn't something we do. John, did you read Alpha Core number 1? In the video for the kind of cartoon that was made for Alpha Core, they say we're Alpha Core and failure. It's like Edwin Boyette voiceover. And failure is not what we do. Well, Alpha Core shows up in ISON number 2.
Got this one.
After saying failure is not what we do, the first line out of their mouths in ISON number 2 is, we have to go over yesterday's catastrophe. We all fucked up big time. That's the only time you see Alpha Core is them fucking up. Essentially, every single episode of Alpha Core so far is them fucking up big time. They fucked up, and then in Alpha Core, the book itself, they get swindled into, they find a piece of evidence, a thumb drive, and they think it's the clue to financial misdealings done by these two super criminals who have psychic powers. And it's like they have this thumb drive that they pulled out of a bank vault.
Not a good idea.
They're buying the super criminals, like they're just stupid enough they're going to take this thumb drive and put it in their fucking...
Don't do it.
They're that stupid, aren't they? It's a virus on the thumb drive. And they are that stupid. They have the thumb drive and they go, what should we do? Well, let's put it in the fucking... They have a gigantic helicarrier that's shaped like a turtle.
No, why would...
And they go, well, let's do it. You know, you only live once, YOLO. They put the thumb drive
Really?
in there. John, this is... Chuck Dixon wrote this. And the whole thing goes fucking haywire and then begins to crash down into the town, the city of Flores Park.
Okay.
And we're talking, this thing is the
And
size
the
of
second feeder.
fucking shopping malls. And it's coming down.
So we got these. Now, what I need to do is reinforce. These are done. I don't need them again. I'll save...
And it's like
Oh,
9/11.
no, you
It just, people are killed.
No, I don't think I'm going
it's
to.
like the city is ruined by this
I'm done
gigantic
with this,
fucking
right? I
helicarrier.
have
Maybe
large
red
skull,
cars,
small
should be
skull,
flying
large
jumping
femurs,
balls in
small
the sky
femurs.
above the
That's-
city.
This
I don't know.
is
Just a thought.
great.
And then at
These
the
I
end
need
of
to
that, like, they go,
reinforce
well,
and
we
clean
just
up,
got
but then
them.
we are ready to
So
cut
they got the
fabric.
two super criminals who gave them
So,
the thumb drive.
here we
Leaving
go.
on vacation. And they sit there and go, we have
Okay.
some ropey evidence that connects
Alright. And meanwhile, my flags are washing and they are nice and black. It's like a deep gray, really. Exactly the color I want. Super happy about that. Alright, a little warm.
They are cool. They get on their plane and then the Wonder Woman character lashes out with like this fucking whip and whips their engine off and goes, oh yeah, well
So-
now you're gonna be delayed.
I'm gonna give this some thought. How do I want to clean these up and
We're
stabilize?
billionaires. We stole
We
money.
got
We'll buy another plane. Thanks for the 30-minute holdup, you stupid fucking ass. And they walk away like,
Man,
well,
oh man.
they're just gonna get another.
Okay, so I'm ready to start cutting fabric. I
This
need
scene of this story,
2
the
of
superheroes
everything
walking towards us, and
for
the
each
Superman
flag.
character goes, they're just gonna buy another plane, and she goes, shut up.
So I'm gonna keep track of which ones I have so I can make a mirror. Basically, I'm making one and then a mirror image of it.
John,
And then they sandwich the flag, it's the black flag with this white material. So, what do we have to do?
It's not what we do. Not what we do.
Use that jacket.
We don't do
Let's see what I
failure.
want.
Failure is a noun. We don't verb
I
that.
need to figure out a way to
Like none of it makes
transfer
sense.
this now.
It's really, really bad. And after reading that, I got
I'm gonna
angry.
transfer
I decided
these
I
to
hated
the fabric.
comics. I hated everybody,
I don't know.
and I was really upset.
Now I want to read it.
I don't yet. And then I had.
I got too much good stuff to read now. I can't about bad stuff right now. Good stuff.
Well, I got to do it because I got this review show, John. I appreciate your help with that. I mean, I got a review show, and I have to read this show.
I've been listening to this show for a year or two now, I guess. So I know some of these people, but I don't actually know the comic books that well.
That's the way it goes. So,
Because I don't read comic books.
anyway, yeah. So it's not that the characters are bad guys. It's that
I
they're
liked them when I was young,
unlikable
I just
bad
couldn't get
guys
them.
and doing stupid things. And that's where we have a problem. I can
Okay.
get into a story about
Hey
it.
there. You
Here's
okay?
Aaron says, "Hi, Ethan and John. Do you have any tips for how
You
to make
didn't get
space
hurt, huh?
battles look
Good.
exciting
You don't
in
seem
space
injured.
opera comics?
You did seem
Especially
scared.
since there are a lot of shots of pilots
You gotta be
sitting
careful.
in fighters."
Pull down the ironing board.
Speed
Made a racket.
lines,
But
yelling
luckily you didn't break
faces,
anything, so
uh,
we got that going for
yeah,
us.
I mean, jets going past each other at rapid speed. I mean,
Wait, is that cows?
100 different ways.
Can we hear the cows? I'm positive I heard cows. Yep. It's cows or dinosaurs, it's probably cows. Having unusually warm weather. We had a murderously cold week, and now a mid-spring week. It's been strange. Huh. Okay. So, all right, let me think this through. I want to stabilize these. Really, all I care about right now is how do I get 2 copies of each of these and get them accurate. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. I think what I'm probably going to do is reverse them on this glass table, tape them down, and then cut where I can see the line. Maybe I'll put a light. That's what I'm going to do. I have a shop light down, or I have a lamp right over there somewhere. I'm going to put a light under the table, shine a light through. I'll recut it right along that line, then I will have a reinforced template that'll lay flatter, and I can then lay that on my fabric. I'll double the fabric so I get 2 at once, and I need to remember to cut these. Oh, you know what? Actually, when I'm doing that, I guess I could cut them bigger. I have to cut these like at least 1/4 of an inch bigger on each side, so that they can tuck under. Because I want them this size, but I want to be able to fold some material underneath. So I've got to remember to do that, and but then I'm ready to go. These are ready to start cutting, and then I can iron them into shape, and then as soon as those flags are dry, I can start sewing. And so we're cooking here. What are you doing there? Oh boy. Okay, she's getting kind of rambunctious. We're all got a little bit of cabin fever. Okay, I'm gonna go check the flags, and then I'm gonna come back and get these reinforced and ready to cut. BRB. I just checked the washing machine, and they look good. They're just the right color, right tone. Everything's cool. So now it's just a matter of getting my my templates figured out. How do I want to do this? I want to cut just slightly bigger than these. Let me give it some thought. This is what I want for the final. So what I need to do is expand this by a little bit on each side, and then I'll have just what I need here. So let's go ahead, move the camera. So why not? All right. Does that make sense? Well, there we go. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we have, I think, everything we need. Now the question is, what do I do to get these accurately drawn. How do I, there's a question. How do I draw this onto the thing? First thing that comes to mind is I can use a Sharpie. Some of the outline will show, right? But it doesn't matter. It's against a black background, and let's see, you have white fabric, and then it'll be folded over. Any black that shows is going to be under one layer of white fabric against a black background with another folded layer and a white layer. So you're not going to have translucency to deal with. Who's to say they didn't use, ink? I mean, I don't know how they did it at the time. I'd like to know that too. That'd be interesting to check the, certainly you don't want to take apart one of the only two pirate flags that exist. So you can't do that. Maybe with technology. That's a cool project that's going on right now. What was it? I don't know where they're doing it. Maybe UK. Somebody's using. They're using this 3D scan, and it's not quite a CAT scan or a PET scan to unwrap to virtually unwrap scrolls from, I think, from Israel from a couple thousand years ago, or maybe Pompeii or somewhere. Whatever happened, like they wrote all this stuff down. Where's the camera? They wrote all this stuff down on scrolls, and then they rolled them up and they put them somewhere, and then there was a fire and they all got charred. And so the char preserved them, but of course it made it so it's impossible to unroll these things. They're so brittle and blackened and stuff, you couldn't even read it even if you could unravel it. But through this scanning technology, they've been able to virtually scan them layer by layer and reconstruct the writing, the ink, the charred ink on the charred scrolls, and then virtually unwrap. And I think they're using some kind of AI to interpolate between, like if you have part of a letter A, it won't be the letter A, but you get the idea. If they have part of a letter A and then, part of a letter A over here, they can figure out where it's supposed to go. It's really fascinating. I saw it online, I think last year. There was some sort of a contest for it, and I think they've been successful in unrolling at least one of them, which is kind of cool. It would be neat to do that with an artifact like this. You don't want to pull the stitches and see, well, gee, how did they mark their cotton fabric when they were making this pirate flag? Nobody gives a shit about that. I kind of do, just because it's interesting, but I don't have to know that. Like I'm recreating one, and I'll figure out, with my modern tools how to do that. And, got my skull. This is how I'm doing it. I don't know how they did it. Maybe they did it the same way. Instead of a Sharpie, they had a quill and a bottle of ink. Who knows? Well, it would be fun to know that, but just fun. It's not critical to know that. You don't have to destroy the thing in order to figure it out. Whew. So, what we got? I think what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. What I want is an accurate reproduction of this. I want, when it's done, for it to be very close to this, because I like this drawing style. It's a kind of emblematic of that period of time and these guys, and this is what they made, and so that shows us who they were, and that's what I want. Question is, how do I do that? And I don't know yet. We'll give it a little thought, and we'll figure it out. I know I want to go slightly bigger than this, maybe even a half inch. I think a half inch bigger is too much, but so if I get it close, as long as I can get pushed down to this, let me roll this down. Face it, so you can see the work table. How's that? Is that better? So I've got this material here, and I want to cut. I want to cut around the edge here, and then tuck this underneath, and then I'm going to stitch all along the outside edge. All this stuff is going to be painted. I only put it on here just to help me orient it, and helps me see what I'm looking at. But what I need to do is figure out how to get this to lie flat on the fabric and hold still long enough for me to trace around it with a little bit extra to spare. So I don't know how to do that yet. I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let me think about that. I don't know. Give me something to listen to that'll help me think.
To make something look cool. Danger, always danger. A lot of rocks, a lot of meteors in the sky. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But it sounds like a challenge. Like every time somebody gives you something like that to do.
Hello, Scout.
Or you're trying to make vehicles, fighting vehicles.
How's it going, dude?
It's a challenge. Because vehicles are
I'm glad you weren't
stationary
hurt
for
by
most part.
the
They just stand
catastrophe
on
with the
wheels
ironing
or
board.
something like that. Jets are. So it really is. It's usually perspective, and then one of the things that you want to do is contrast. Like there's one jet in the foreground that's coming right at you, and then another one real far away that's coming at you too. In order to sort of give the impression of like they're moving really fast.
All right. What am I going to do? I'm going to lay out my fabric. I'm going to double it for each of these pieces. I need 2 skulls for each flag, so I need 4 skulls, small, and 2 large.
Whoa, better. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I haven't read right about it. I read the first
How
20
do I
pages
do
of it.
this? I think I'm going to use the Sharpie.
I never got around to it, but it was good. But this I read twice in one day, which I had to read it again. Bradford Crone says, "Dang, I hate that I slept on this one." I found Miller's art on it.
Now I think about it, I could have left that paper up on the wall,
What do you think of that, Don?
put the fabric up to it, and just traced on top of that. With these on there, then cut. That would have been a better way to do this.
Yeah, take that as well.
That would have been a better way to do this. I should have left my paper template up on the wall uncut, traced it all out as I have, then taped the fabric above it, drawn to the outside of that line, and removed the fabric, and then cut these templates to give the precise final size of the line. That would have been easier to do. I mean, I suppose I could do this just like you do with a dress pattern or a coat pattern or something like that. I could just pin this to the fabric and then trim it, right? That's probably the best way to do it. Why don't I just do that? I have pins. I got a box of pins. I've got a paper pattern. I've got fabric. I'll just pin this to the fabric. I'm actually going to do that, I think. That's the way to do it. I'll just pin this to the fabric. And then as I cut, I'm just going to cut wide, give myself plenty of extra space. And then I have this for the, then when I'm ironing and folding, I'll lay this on there and I'll fold it and I'll iron it and lay this on just to check my lines. Because I really want this pretty close to precise. You can't see that, I'm sorry. But I think that's what I want. I'll pin this down and I'll cut wide. And then as I'm ironing, I'll fold under, make sure it lines up, make sure it all matches, iron it, use this to spot check, but then I have it. That's what I'm going to do. Solved. Awesome. See these skulls, man. I want to see these skulls. I think I need to go. I'm going to cut my fabric, and then I'm going to go throw the flags in the dryer with a couple of old rags and towels. I'm going to dry them, I'm going to iron them, and I'm going to stitch these motherfucking skulls onto these motherfucking pirate flags. And then I'm going to spit upon my hands, hoist the black flag, and begin slitting throats. And by begin slitting throats, I mean making beautiful paintings. Because as soon as I'm done with this, I can finish. Those. They're going to be cool. They're really nice pictures.
pictures. I got some nice
Good.
pictures.
Yeah,
And,
Kaiju,
they're gonna be really
Kaiju
pretty.
making an appearance in Cash Grab too, I think.
It's gonna be exciting.
Or in,
Queen Bee says Lone Star
They're gonna be really
no
pretty.
for $20. Queen Bee's trying to push. Let me see where we are.
And
with
after
that.
them,
Any,
when they're
further
done,
with the Lone Star
I can
review?
finally paint the
We were at
cows
411.
for
We're
what's
now
her
at
name.
501, so we're halfway through
She
the Lone
likes
Star
cows.
review.
I'm gonna do some
Lunix,
really beautiful.
Lunix
I just want
says,
some
what do you guys think
nice
of indie comics like Milk and
landscapes.
Cheese, Acme Novelty,
That's
He's
some
Just Around,
ideas.
etc.?
All right, let's fucking paint, man.
Never into it.
And by paint, I mean, well, that's a habit. Let's
Love
fucking sew. I want to go cut some
was,
fabric.
Evan-
Let's cut out some skulls.
Evan Dorkin, and he was so miserable. He made a cartoon of us.
I need some pirate gear. Maybe,
About us.
maybe some sea
Well,
shanties.
about me and about like
I don't know.
Star Wars YouTube
I don't know.
characters. Like, and I
Glasses.
Think he was, I think he drew
All right, let's hit
me,
it.
and I was so flattered by
I'll
it.
turn the camera so you can observe, but I will black it out so you don't get seasick. Let's do this. How about that? Look at that. Yeah, whatever.
Not as funny as you think. I mean, he's
There
kind
you
of
go.
funny, but he's secretly miserable.
You're not gonna be able to see it, but I don't know. Here we go. I got a marker.
We had a lot in common.
I've got skulls.
I like him. I like these guys. Lone Star is so bored with new Dino King. Liam can take it, says Wilberforce Wooster. Dark Blue Comics says, no, John, I'm saying he should have done Z there. Should have done
No,
Z
I don't
there.
wanna do that,
True Believer
right?
says, Mercenary Press, make it happen.
Like, if I was cutting these out individually,
CG way, include
I
best
could
crowdfunding
reverse them and
practices,
stuff, but
3D
what I'm
asset
doing,
chapters still full of
I'm
blank
going to
pages.
fold these.
Review
So
Geiger
I don't even
Machine
need the
says
marker.
that networks. Johnny Rocket says the YouTube algorithm abandons you if you go a month without an upload. Eric has to know this. Apple Smoke, thanks for $10. Did you read John's most recent tweet? It is
Hurrah,
John, what
me
is your tweet?
boys, we're homeward
It
bound.
was a tweet.
Well, we're homeward
No,
bound.
it was Mikey.
You asked
let's
for
go
a read
here.
that tweet.
That's another one here. Gives me enough room
I put a
to
tweet
get
out
that.
there that just said, hey, can I get a
Over a little
retweet?
bit. I'm gonna be
Like, I
generous
keep
with
reading
this
people in
because I
back
don't want
rooms
to
and all
fuck
this, hey, can I get a retweet?
go
And I
here.
was like, I'm
That
stuck right
ought to
now.
give
And I
enough
wrote up,
room
I think
for
I got
all
like
of
a shit ton of retweets on it. A lot nice.
Right.
Here's your tweet.
Back to the marker.
I've seen this pattern play out multiple times for 6 years. I feel this is tame compared to the past, but realize newcomers might find this to be the end times. As for the creator end of CG, here's how it goes as I see it. Love it or hate them. Love or hate them. Leaders take the real risks and real shots. They are the trailblazers, drum beaters, ralliers, showing the way they sometimes make waves while followers happily feed their weight, getting strong. Initially, when
Goodbye,
Richard and I
fairly
launched
well.
Drum Beaters,
Goodbye,
by our
fairly
belief in
well.
ourselves and the audience's passion, we put our balls
And
in the
here we
industry
go.
stage when
I
all hell
don't
broke loose.
think I'm
While
getting
Richard continued in a bit of isolation,
anything
Ethan picked up the
unusual out
balls,
of
and
this.
he
It's just gonna be
and not your balls,
a couple
and led
skulls
led
of dead
numerous
men.
creators along with him, some kicking and screaming towards success.
I need
Being in
to
the weakest
sharpen my
nights
sword.
inconvenient.
Oh shit.
lovely chair. I should do a video on how to do that seat too. That was very fun. Alright, so there we go. Right? Oh, that's perfect. So, if I cut a strip, I know I'm not in camera, but I don't give a fuck. If I cut a strip here, I get the extra for the skulls. Then I could do the long bones on this other piece that remains. So let's do that. Sick in the head. I haven't been to bed. So first, 2, 3. 4. Okay, so here we go. Let's cut down to here and over across. All for me grog, a jolly jolly grog. All for me beer and tobacco. For I spent all my tin on the lass's drinking gin. And across the western ocean I must wander. I'm sick in the head, I haven't been to bed since first I set ashore. Something or other. Here we go. So, fold in half, then half again. All fun. Smooth it out. Let's check that it fits. It certainly does. There's a little bit of waste, but at this point, I do not care. I'm interested in getting this pirate flag built. We have merchants to conquer, so let's make a flag. So I doubled it and doubled it again, ensuring that it is big enough to accommodate the needed piece with room to spare. So I'm going to lock this on and I'm going to pin that down and then cut it out with space around it so that I can tip it under and stitch it down. And that is what we want here, and I think I've got it now, right? One more pass. There we go. Perfect. Now, music. Oh look, it's Robert Hansen. I think he just died recently. Fuck him, he's a fucking traitor. And Michael Hearn, Bully in the Alley, of course. Gotta have that. Bully in the alley, way, hey, bully in the alley. Bully in the alley, bully down the shingle now. 4 layers here. I have 2 flags with this size. So yeah, okay. Going down the shingle now. Oh, put it in the alley. Hey, put it in the alley. I'm putting in the alley. Going down the shingle now. Manifesto. I ought to retitle the video, yeah. Put it in the alley. Now, the shingle now. Ooh, that baby Bob, I'm putting in the alley. Put one more, and we've got it locked in, and then this is ready to play. Bully down the shingle now. And then all I want is really to go. Hey, bully in the alley. I need 2 of each. Oh, you know what I can do? Keep them oriented the same. Well, it doesn't really matter, right? I don't think it does matter. I think they're going to be reverse and obverse. And that's all it is. It's just the direction that you fold the fold over part. So it doesn't make much difference which way it goes. They're gonna be fucking rad, these flags. So I just I've got my flags in the dryer. Just checked on them. They are fucking rad. And I've got my skulls cut. Skulls are ready to cut out. I'm now doing giant femurs, and then I'm going to do the, get it? Okay, this piece is ready to cut. I can get, where's my other, what? That's the big one, right? Nay, that's the middle. That is, okay. So, as long as they are on the proper orientation, these should be okay. So, let's do this. I only need 2 of each of these. So, let's see, glasses? Can't see a damn thing. Right, little honey. And since I set my eyes on you, I'll tell you the truth. Okay, I want to fold here. And I know you can't see this, but you know, too bad. I'll fix it later. So here, roll over. We'll be singing the cult before too long. Okay, I think this is big enough for both of these, right? Keep them the same side up. As long as they're the right side up, then they should be okay. I need 2 of each. Do that, do that. I don't even care. At this point, I just want these cut. There you go. Phew. All right, so we've got 2 giant dongs. The skull and dongs. That's what the pirates are flying, apparently. They're Barbary pirates. They're North Africans. Maybe they're a bit weird. That's what they like, man. They're good. Fucking Africans. What do you want? All right, so let's iron it down. Hit them. Well, here we go. My Emma, won't you be true to me? Put on your oilskin jacket. Alright, so, what we need, put this here. Is a damn sight worse than slavery. And let's make some giant femurs. Alright, we're good, right? Which pins? It was whole, boys, whole, boys, whole. Leave away the capstan lads and let's get up the draw. Here we go. Ships are gently rolling, my, won't you be true to me? There we go. A little bit down there, there you go. Okay. As long as these are on the right side, right? One goes one way, one goes the other way. That's the cry in the middle of the night. Okay, that needs to go a little bit in the other angle. So you know what? I'll leave that one off for now. Let's pin this one and then we don't have to mess with the other. Okay, 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 we're getting more. Probably could be even more efficient with these, but I think these are pretty good. They're not very good. I wonder, maybe I could have spread these a bit more, had the wider fabric, and then put one or two in between, but this is how we're going to do this. Ooh, I don't like that. can do it. So here we go. So now we've got these, they're pinned, bones. That's 2. Now I need 4 of these and 4 of these.